The world spins around me, green and black blurring together. I gasp, caught off guard by the spin before I'm suddenly pulled back into strong arms. The faint smell of spices and deep laughter washing over me. "Sorry, I thought you were ready for it," Kit chuckles, green eyes daring me to look into them. "A better dancer would have been," I say with a small smile, my eyes roaming around the room instead of meeting his. The ballroom is like nothing I've ever seen before, with its windows, pillars, and beautiful molding. I'm stunned by the sheer size and elegance surrounding me. The people filling the space fit in perfectly with the surroundings, all of them groomed and graceful. The men garbed in deep black, while the women are draped in every shade of green. Well, every woman but me. Adina was stunned into the silence for the very first time when I told her I wanted a silver dress. I needed to stand out. Needed to remind the people of their silver savior. And since there is no rule declaring that women must wear green, the only risk in showing up in silver was drawing more attention to myself if I trip all over the dance floor. So many eyes, so many people watching as I descended the stairs. So many gazes sweeping over my body, skimming over the slitted dress and dagger beneath. Even now, I'm being watched. They all look at me with varying levels of intrigue, some with curiosity and others with scrutiny. I'm not sure I'll be winning these people's votes tonight, but I am certainly making myself hard to forget. I look up at Kit, his blonde hair appearing even lighter against the dark suit cut close to his figure. He looks handsome, charming, like his father. He looks like his father. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" he asks softly, still spinning me slowly. My eyes snap to his of their own accord. "Am I supposed to be?" He almost laughs, but instead says, "No, you're not." "And does that seem fair to you?" I blurt before I can stop myself. "These trials?" The song comes to an end, our dancing doing the same. I feel his gaze wandering over my face, even after I look away, as if he is searching for the answer there. Then he sighs. "Why don't I get us something to drink?" I blink. Despite him evading my question, I nod in answer to his. He looks around at the men crowding the dance floor, several suddenly staring in our direction. "And I suppose I'll share you with everyone else, if only for a few dances." He smiles before giving me a slight bow of his head and striding away. As soon as the future king turns his back, a tall young man meets me on the dance floor and sweeps into a bow. I politely accept his offer to dance and don't have time to be nervous before his arms are encircling me. I can't help but feel a pinch of pride at how well I keep up with his long strides, and we talk idly while spinning across the floor. When a new waltz strums to life, a new partner steals me away. I'm suddenly folded between the arms of a young man, seemingly my age, with pale blue hair meticulously styled atop his head. "I would have never guessed you were a mundane from the slums by the looks of you," he says, his gaze roaming greedily up and down my body. I shift uncomfortably in his tight grasp clamped around my waist, feeling the reassuring weight of my dagger strapped to my thigh. If it weren't for the favor of the people I'm trying to earn, that little comment would have earned him a fist to the face. His voice is lower than before when he says, "You're a vision." She is, isn't she? My heart skips a beat. The voice coming from over my shoulder is so cold I nearly shiver. Kai brushes my arm as he steps around me, facing the stunned boy still clutching me to him. "I'll be stealing her now," Kai says simply, completely aware of how inappropriate it is to cut in during the middle of a dance. But, then again, he is the prince, the next enforcer, a cocky bastard. The man's hand drops slowly from my waist, his eyes flicking over me one last time before he offers Kai a quick bow and steps away. The prince doesn't miss a beat. I'm in his arms before the musicians finish drawing out their note. He feels too familiar. We fit together perfectly, pieces of a puzzle snapping into place. I shouldn't let myself relax into his touch. Shouldn't let the tension ease from my body when he holds me. But I can do nothing to stop it. Utterly and completely powerless. His palm is flat and firm against my exposed back, calluses brushing my flushed skin. "You looked like you needed saving," Kai says, and I catch a glimpse of his smirk before he spins me. For once, I sigh. I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm sure I could think of other things we agree on. Oh, really? And what would those things be? That he was right, Kai says softly. You are a vision. I'm sure we can both agree on that. I swallow, my heart beginning to pound a rapid beat I choose to ignore. Unsure of what to say to him, I instead ask, and what other things do we agree on? He hums distractedly as his eyes sweep over my face. Are you having a good time tonight? I blink at him. Well, spit it out, Gray. Fine, I huff. Not particularly, no. He cracks a smile. Then we both agree that these balls are incredibly boring. I can't help but laugh. And what if you're the reason I'm not having a good time? If that were the case, he says with a grin, you likely would have stomped on my toes or pulled a dagger on me to get away by now. Don't give me any ideas, Prince. He chuckles softly. You're right. I'd hate to bloody my suit. We continue spinning around the dance floor while I ignore how close his body is to mine and look around the crowded room filled with chatter, laughter, and music. I spot Andy laughing with Jax as they stumble around the dance floor, and it doesn't take long to find the other contestants in the crowd. When my gaze lands on Kit, I'm surprised to find him already watching me. He's surrounded by a group of fawning girls, but his eyes are trained on Kai and me as we dance, doing nothing to interrupt his brother and steal back his date. And there, clasped in his hands, are 2 drinks, one full while the other is nearly empty. I'm about to look back at my partner when my eyes snag on a servant. The boy's dark curly hair bounces atop his head with each stride, as he carries a tray of bubbling beverages through the crowd. His brown eyes sweep across the room, as if searching for something or someone. The boy from Loot. The boy with the leather. The boy I stole from. The boy with the note addressed to my house. A tidal wave of questions floods my mind. Why is he here? I thought he was an apprentice, not a servant. Is he looking for me? Looking for the paper I stole from him? I'm swept from my thoughts when Kai spins me and my eyes dart to his without my permission. Mistake. His midnight hair falls over his forehead in messy, silky waves. Smoky gray eyes meet mine, captivating, chilling. His set jaw loosens, pulling his lips into a cocky grin as he watches me take him in. Dimples, both of them mocking me. Like what you see, Gray, he croons, knowing that will get a rise out of me. I huff, looking away from him to fight the flush that's finding its way to my cheeks. Rough fingers glide from my back to catch my chin, gently guiding my face back to his as he mutters, by all means, carry on. I'll never deny myself the chance of watching you watch me. And why is that? I ask with a nonchalance I don't feel. His smile is wicked, because it is far more fun to admire you when the action is mutual. I nearly choke on my laugh. Don't flatter yourself, Prince. I am not admiring you or your stupid dimples, I sputter, trying to act as though I wasn't, in fact, doing just that. His smile only grows, causing those dimples in his cheeks to deepen distractingly. Liar. A frustrated sound escapes me as I glare up at him, refusing to give him the satisfaction of avoiding his piercing gaze. We continue dancing to the slow tune, our movements slowing in turn, as Kai asks, so what's the score now? What? My brows scrunch in question at the sudden change of topics, though I'm relieved nonetheless. I've helped you, 3 times? Possibly 4 now? His eyes study my face intently. So that makes it 4-1 then. I huff out a laugh. First of all, I didn't help you. I saved you, remember? I raise my eyebrows at him. Surely that has to count for more than just 1 point. Besides, I didn't realize we were keeping track. Fair enough. He shrugs slightly. How about we say the score is 2-4 then? That's generous. My eyes light up. Look at that. The prince finally admitted I save him. He laughs, the sound rumbling through his chest, crinkling the corners of his eyes. I never said. Splitting screams drown out his words. I'm momentarily stunned, only snapped out of my daze when pain tears through my left forearm. The shooting jolt has my eyes falling to the torn, bloody flesh there. Throwing knife. Suddenly, I'm crashing to the floor with a strong, solid body landing on top of me. No, a strong, solid body covering me. Explosives erupt around the room, and my ears ring from the impact. I feel a wave of heat accompanied by smoke and hunks of stone sailing towards us. Kai's large frame hovers over me, his hand cradling the back of my head so my skull didn't crack on the hard marble when he threw us to the ground. He's shielding my body from the debris and knives flying around the room. I regain my hearing slowly, each scream amplifying as my ears pop and ring back to life. I hear terror and the trampling of feet all around us, men and women rushing toward the exits, trying to escape the madness. Kai wrenches me to my feet, ducking low as he half drags me towards the wall, trying to get us out of the open. What is going on? I shout over the sound of explosions and echoes of screams. But Kai is busy barking orders at the guards and people around us, telling them what to do and how to do it. Every bit the future enforcer. The ballroom is utter chaos. Debris from the explosions litter the once pristine floors. Throwing knives glint as they whiz through the air, thrown by the few fleeing figures wearing black strips of leather that cover only the top half of their faces, mimicking the Imperial's masks. Who are these people? A few bodies scatter the floor, some soaked in blood, others crushed under the large chunks of stone thrown from the explosions and struggling to free themselves. But the element of surprise has passed, and the elites that were dancing cheerfully only minutes ago now fight back against the masked figures. Guards pour into the room, some flashes, others blazers or brawnies. A few shields scatter purple force fields around the room, protecting those around them from the attack as weapons bounce harmlessly off the glowing domes. Without a second thought, Kai adapts the shield's ability to throw up his own force field around us. There's no time to explain. His eyes are wide, the only sign of his worry. How badly are you hurt? He reaches for me, but I step away, my back colliding with the hard wall behind me. Pain shocks up my arm, but I grit my teeth and ignore it. I'm fine, but what is? I need you to get to one of the safe rooms. The guards will take you. Kai, I'm not leaving. He flattens me fully against the wall, boxing me in with his arms on either side of my head. His eyes are wild, like smoke smoldering from a blazing fire. Then don't think I won't throw you over my damn shoulder and carry you out of here myself. Is that what you want? I know he'll do it too. Kai is not one for empty threats. I look over his shoulder at the few masked figures trying to flee and fight their way out. They look unprepared, using weapons rather than powers, doing little damage against the abilities being used against them. I watch the chaos ensue, confusion clouding my thoughts. Where are the ignites who caused the explosions? My eyes scan the room, snagging on a round glass object, sloshing with dark liquid, clutched in the hand of a masked figure. Homemade bombs. It hits me then. They aren't using powers because they have none, because they are ordinaries. Let me help, I breathe, my eyes pleading with Kai. I need to get closer. Need to see who these people are and where they came from. No, I can take care of myself. His laugh is dry. Then prove it. Go quietly to the safe room. Now, make me. I practically growl the words in his face through gritted teeth. Wrong thing to say. He looks away and exhales, shaking his head. You're too stubborn for your own good, Gray. And then the world flips upside down. His hand is cupping the back of my knees, and my upper body is slung over his shoulder, hanging down his back. I thrash in his hold, but his grip is firm. I feel like a toddler throwing a tantrum, and I don't care in the slightest. Put me down. My tone promises a slow and painful death, but he ignores me nonetheless. If you knew how to follow orders, I wouldn't have to throw you around like a rag doll, Kai says coolly. I grapple for my dagger, dangerously furious. Kai, I am literally going to stab you in the back if you don't. If you think a stab wound will stop me, then you seriously underestimate my abilities, darling. Through the silver curtain of hair falling limply over my head, I stop struggling long enough to watch the remaining masked figures blur past us on the outside of our bubble force field. And then my eyes snag on one with floppy, dark curls. Him. His mask clings to his face like a second skin. And when his gaze meets mine, I take a slow breath. He halts, watching me as I watch him. He's one of them, and he recognizes me. The note. The meeting place, the leather. Sure enough, each of them is engulfed in leather vests and masks. Armor. He was making armor for them. Suddenly, we are standing near a circle of Imperials surrounding something, trying to contain it. Kai pushes through the throng, and I catch Kit out of the corner of my eye, fighting and thrashing against the guards restraining him. I thought I told you to get him out of here. Kai's voice is deep, deadly. Sir, he wouldn't. An Imperial starts before Kit cuts him off, more aggressive than I've ever seen him. I'm not hiding from this, Kai. This is my kingdom too. His voice is stern, on the verge of yelling into his brother's face. Well, there won't be a kingdom for you to rule if you die, Kit. Kai fires back, his tone cool. You need to lay low until this is cleaned up. This could be an attempt on your life. I'm not leaving this fight. Kit roars. Then you risk damning us all. Kai's cool facade finally cracks, sending shards of white-hot anger rippling through the air. He sighs and steadies his breathing. We need you alive, Kit. I need you alive. Just... He pauses, collecting himself as he pieces his mask back together. Sit this one out. For the kingdom. For me. They eye each other, silently communicating in the way that only brothers as close as they are can. I get the sudden sense that this is a frequent fight between them, a recurring battle of wills. I watch as Kit's face crumples, his walls crumble. I watch him give in. Fine. It seems it's my fate to always sit these fights out, right? Kai doesn't respond, and instead sets me gently on the ground before him. Without a single glance in my direction, he says, "Get them to a safe room with the others." And then he's running back into the thick of the fight, dozens of powers flicking over his skin before he settles on one. Fire. Kit hasn't stopped pacing since the moment we were shoved into this stuffy, safe room. I fight the urge to yank him to the floor, make him explain to me what is going on. Instead, I've watched him mumble and circle the room for the past hour. Watched his fingers ignite like flickering candles when his burning fury seeped out of him, displaying that dual ability of his. A thin layer of sweat has slicked my body, likely giving me the appearance of a glazed, sticky bun. I'm slumped on the floor of the stone-encased safe room, the cold wall against my exposed back, the only slight relief from the heat of the room caused by the dozens of bodies crowded together, all wearing heavy gowns and starchy suits. The safe room is sealed shut by a hefty metal door guarded on either side, and trapping the suffocating humidity in here with us. Kit and I were stuffed into the same room that the king and queen occupy, as well as most of the other contestants and whatever other guests made it in here. It's fairly large, plain, and packed with people. Out of the large throng, only 2 healers are among the crowded room. They buzz about, tending to the wounded and injured after ensuring that the king, queen, and Kit were taken care of. After a while, a stout lady in a deep green gown finally waddles over to me, saying nothing as she mends the knife wound on my arm. Her brows knit together in concentration, as I feel a wave of warmth seeping into the gash and look down to see the wound nearly gone, leaving only a thin pink scar remaining. But it's my heart that aches more than the wound did, feeling more cut and sliced than my body has ever been. I'd watched my father do that very same thing to so many people. Watched him save lives. Fix wounds. Fix my wounds. I wish he was here to fix the broken, mangled object that is now my heart. The heart that broke when he left me, when he was murdered by the man sitting in this very room. My eyes flick to the king and queen, talking in hushed, urgent tones with each other and the few trusted advisors around them. No doubt discussing what the plague just happened out there and what to do about it. Kit has been summoned to his father's side countless times to speak silently with the advisors. But afterward, he always finds his way back to pacing around the room. I unwedge myself from Jax and Andy, who are sticky with sweat on either side of me, and step into Kit's path. "Hi," I say stupidly, unable to think of a better introduction. He almost smiles before sighing. "Hi." If I want him to talk to me, I need to play the part. I take a deep breath before putting a hand on his exposed arm, his suit coat long forgotten, and the white sleeves of his shirt now rolled up to his elbows. His skin is scalding, and I snatch away my hand with a small hiss as my eyes drop to the faint flames licking over his knuckles. I blink, and the fire is gone, leaving only rough skin behind. "Did I burn you?" Kit blurts out, looking alarmed. He reaches for me, but thinks better of it, raking his hands through his messy hair instead. "I can't even keep my damn power in check," he mutters, turning away from me. No, I'm fine." He won't look at me. His hands are running through his hair, down his face. "Hey," I say, but my words fall on deaf ears. He's about to start pacing again. I need him to focus. On an impulse, I reach up and cup his face in my hands, feeling only the natural warmth of his skin beneath my palms. I prepare myself to meet those eyes, knowing I need to do this in exchange for an answer. His gaze snaps to mine, green and crisp like dew clinging to freshly cut grass. Like a lucky 4-leaf clover, an emerald sparkling in the sunlight. Like the eyes of a murderer, the eyes of the king. "Talk to me." The words tumble out of my mouth, sounding more like an order than I intended. So I quickly add, "Please." He sighs and ducks his head before gently grabbing my wrists and lowering them from his face. Then, he guides me towards the least crowded corner in the room, his warm hands pulling me to the floor beside him, before resting his arms on his raised knees. "I'm sorry that I'm so flustered," Kit finally says. I've never seen him so serious, so stern, so kingly. "I don't like people fighting my battles." He bites out the words like he hates the taste of them in his mouth. "I guess that is something you will have to get used to when you're king," I say softly. He scoffs. "You mean, get used to my brother constantly risking his life while I sit back and watch?" Heat seems to ripple off him, and I suddenly wonder if he is partially to blame for this stifling room. I see it then, the green of his eyes that matches the jealousy, the envy. I can see the part of him that wishes he could run into battle and save the day like his brother. Wishes he could earn his father's favor through brawn and not brains. Wishes he could be the hero rather than the one the hero is protecting. And yet, I feel no pity for the boy before me. To envy Kai is to envy a murderer. Play the part. What I mean, I say slowly, is that you have your duties, and Kai has his. You're both fighting for your kingdom, just in different ways. I can see he's not convinced, but he offers me a smile anyway, one that almost reaches his eyes. You would make quite the advisor, you know that? Well, maybe if I survive these trials, you can hire me. He chuckles softly at that, and I give him a small smile in return. Although, I say with a sigh, advisors are supposed to know what is going on, and I sure as hell don't. Come on, tell me. Trust me. Sly, Kit sighs. Fine. You deserve to know what's going on, seeing that one of them nearly sliced your arm off. He brushes a thumb over the thin scar on my exposed arm, his eyes tracing it. I shrink away from the touch, and the action doesn't go unnoticed. Kit clears his throat and leans away from me. They call themselves the Resistance. His voice is low and steady, intended for only me to hear. They are a group of ordinaries that have been banding together for years, fighting against the king and the kingdom because of what was done to their kind. Their kind. My kind. I force myself to swallow my disgust and listen as he continues. At first, they were barely a threat, a joke of a revolution. We've kept this little group a secret, kept it hidden from the people for a few years now. It hasn't been hard to do till recently, but clearly they are bigger and stronger than before. I think I stopped breathing. All I hear is the blood pounding in my ears as I take in the weight of his words. A group of ordinaries fighting against the king and the kingdom. How? The word is raspy, almost drowned out in the chatter of the room. How is there such a large group of ordinaries? How are they such a threat now? Apparently, there were a lot more ordinaries hiding in Ilya than suspected after they were banished. And as long as they repopulate here in the kingdom, their numbers will continue to grow. He heaves a heavy sigh. But the resistance seems to be more of a cause than a group. They are spread out all over the city, hiding in plain sight, which makes things far more difficult since they aren't all gathered in one place. And what's worse, we don't think they are working alone. I raise my eyebrows in question, and he continues. They have elites working with them. Powerful ones. Ones that are also pissed off at my father, at the kingdom. My forehead crinkles in confusion, trying to figure out what he means. And then it clicks, right as Kit voices what I've just pieced together. The Fatals. The Silencers, the Mind Readers, and the Controllers. Father banished them alongside the Ordinaries during the Purging because of how dangerous they were, even to other elites, and he only keeps one of each in his court who are loyal to him. But there are still some out there, and we currently have one in the dungeons beneath us. He nods at me with a small smile. We have you to thank for that. The Silencer. Wait, I say slowly, trying to puzzle everything out. If the Fatals are truly working with the Resistance, then why wouldn't they fight in the attack? They would have done a lot more damage if they had. Kit runs a hand through his hair. We aren't sure. Maybe they weren't intending on attacking. They were unprepared and incredibly outnumbered, which makes me wonder why they came here in the first place. Words fall out of my mouth, and I can do nothing to stop them. And what do you think about this resistance? What do I think about these criminals? He sighs through his nose, shaking his head. I understand. I think it's wrong, but I understand why they are doing it. He looks me dead in the eyes. But if they are allowed to live, then the elite race will slowly die. Who knows how many elites have already been infected by the ordinaries hiding among them. I'm sure people have already begun to feel the effects, the weakening of their power. He pauses, sighing. The ordinary sacrifice is necessary for the greater good of the kingdom. Right. I forgot that I'm diseased. I study him, taking in the strong features of his face, now etched with tension and stress. And that is what you believe? I know I should shut my mouth, should nod my agreement instead of risking speaking treason. But something about this boy brings out a recklessness in me, a need to show him how wrong he is, how twisted his kingdom is. That is what I know, he says softly, looking me in the eyes until I tear mine away, unable to unsee my father's murderer in them. And yet, you can know something and not believe it. My voice sounds shaky, and I hope he believes it to be from fear and not anger. You have a choice, Kit. You always have a choice. He chuckles, but it's void of humor. If I always had a choice, then I wouldn't be in this safe room. I'd be out there, fighting alongside my brother. My eyes fall to the flames flickering over his fingers, betraying his frustration. I lift my head and take a breath before looking him in the eyes. Do you not want to be king? He doesn't hesitate. I do not want to be a coward. I force myself to hold his gaze, seeing all the confusion and consideration reflected in it. No one has ever asked me that before. Yes, well, you'll find that I often ask questions that I shouldn't, I say, looking away from him. Don't stop, he says quickly, quietly. My gaze slides back towards him to rest on the top button of his shirt. Your questions, your thoughts, your contradictions. I want to hear them all. I open my mouth to reply when a gust of cool air breezes over my face, and the thick metal door swings open with a clang. My head snaps to the handful of Imperials pouring into the room, heading for the king and queen. The ballroom is secured, Your Majesty. The guard's voice is gravelly, his head bowed towards the king, who nods curtly. If I wanted to look into his eyes, I'm sure I would see all the questions swimming in them. Questions about how many dead, how many ordinaries captured, how much damage. But he doesn't dare voice his thoughts, not in front of an audience, and especially not when he's still trying to conceal what is truly happening. The king stands from his large wooden chair and clears his throat, further quieting the already hushed room. What happened today was unfortunate, and I can assure you it will not happen again. I nearly snort at the empty promise. But we will not let this incident scare us, cripple us, control us. And for that reason, the trials will continue as scheduled. At that, shocked murmurs ripple through the crowd, though I can't say I'm surprised. He needs to keep up his strong facade. Show no fear. We are elites. We are power. The king pauses, scanning the crowded room with that green gaze I avoid. Honor to your kingdom. Honor to your family. Honor to yourself. The cluster of people around me echoes his words, reciting Ilya's motto. My lips move with them, playing the part of the contestant, the one who is honored to be here, the one who is an elite just like them. The guards begin ushering guests and nobility out of the sticky room, and I'm nearly trampled by pointy heels and polished shoes from where I still sit on the floor before I scramble to my feet. I wish I could walk you to your room, but unfortunately, I'll be trading this stuffy room for another one. Father will likely have Kai and I in meetings right up until the first trial begins, discussing the events that occurred tonight. Kit's voice is strained, tired. But the guards will make sure you arrive safely to your room, not that there is any real threat now. His eyes slide down to the dagger hugging my thigh, on display for all to see. And if there was a threat, I'm sure you could handle yourself just fine. He offers me a smile that I barely manage to return. His eyes drift from me to land on something else near the back of the room. I follow his gaze only to find that the king and queen are staring right back at me. The king is watching through narrowed eyes, and it takes all my strength and training not to throw the same look his way. I'll see you after the trial. Kit's voice cuts through my thoughts. I will see you after the trial. You expect to survive this, remember? I duck my head and smile, despite myself. If I make it out of this first trial alive, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the resistance. And thanks to the curly-haired boy and the note I nicked off him, I know exactly where they will be. See you then, I say to that top button of his shirt before briefly meeting his eyes. They hold a certain warmth and worry, looking less and less like his father's with every blink. I'm shoved towards the door in a current of human bodies and swept out into the hallway. The corridors are teeming with guards and guests, all scurrying from one place to another. I'm herded down the hallway, swallowed by the sea of people around me. We pass the cracked doors of the ballroom, and through them, I can see rubble and red painting the floors. My curiosity refuses to release me from its clutches. It's not hard to slip away from the Imperials, the group. I've mastered the art of going unnoticed and overlooked. Soon, I'm pushing open the ballroom doors, the guards completely oblivious in the mayhem. I'm greeted with gore. Well, the remains of it. Dark blood still splotches parts of the floor, most of it already scrubbed clean with jets of water by the hydros milling about, leaving nothing but pearly stone in their wake. Tellers are clearing the ballroom of the heavy chunks of rubble, and gusts wield the air around them to blow all the debris and dust from the floor. In no time at all, the room will be fixed, restored to its pristine state. As if nothing happened, I'm about to slip back out the door when a mass of messy black hair catches my eye. He's sitting. No. Slumping on a large slab of stone near the far end of the ballroom, dirty and drenched with blood. My heart hammers against my ribcage. He's hurt. And more importantly, why do I care? I stumble down the steps, taking them 2 at a time. I nearly twist my ankle in the deadly contraption that are my heels, before ungracefully flinging them off my feet, letting them tumble down the stairs before I nearly do the same. I'm suddenly in front of him, having cleared the ballroom in a matter of seconds. I drop to my knees, looking up into his bloody, dirt-streaked face. His gray eyes only look startled for a moment, before they begin roaming over me, searching my body for injuries, as I do the same to him. Words spew from my mouth. What happened? Where are you hurt? I look around, scanning the room. And where are those damn healers? Gray. Just the person I wanted to see. He grinds out the words through gritted teeth, though he's still acting like his cool, collected self. What happened? I demand, taking in his ripped clothes and the exposed chest beneath, now covered in gashes. His hands and most of his body are coated in blood, though I'm sure most of it doesn't even belong to him. Before we get to that, he fights to keep the grimace from gracing his features. Did a healer get to you? He's suddenly serious, pain forgotten as his eyes sweep over me yet again. I'm both confused and annoyed with him, a common occurrence, it seems. Yes, I'm fine. I dismiss his question and scoot closer, hands slightly outstretched. But clearly, you're not. And here I was thinking you hated me and my stupid dimples. I'm touched you care so much about my well-being, Gray. Even while in obvious pain, he still finds a way to smirk. Along with being a total ass. Oh, don't mistake my motives, Prince. I only want to keep you alive long enough so I can punch that smirk off your face. Again. There's little bite in the words, and he huffs out a laugh as he shifts on the stone, exposing more of his back to me. I gasp. What the hell is wrong with you? Darling, that is a very loaded question. I ignore his comment, unable to tear my eyes from the throwing knife buried deep into the flesh of his right shoulder blade. You've had a knife in your back this whole time and you just let me talk? I'm sputtering. A dimple accompanies his crooked grin. Oh, but the sound of your voice was such a welcome distraction from the pain. Once again, I ignore him before standing to my feet to inspect the knife slicing deep into his back. Sighing, I mumble, "Yeah, well, now you get to hear me telling you that you're a complete idiot. That's still one of the nicer things you've said to me. So, I'll take it," he says smoothly, seemingly undisturbed by the piece of metal impaling his body. I can't even imagine what pain he's been through to make this wound seem so bearable. "Okay," I say slowly. "Tell me what to do." His laugh is strained. "You say that like you'll actually listen to me for once. Kai, I'm about to add another knife to your back if you don't. I just need you to pull it out." I blink. He says this so casually that I almost think he's joking. Then we need to have a healer here, ready to mend it as soon as the knife is out. He breathes out a strained laugh, the muscles beneath his torn shirt shifting. "I'm offended you doubt my abilities so much. There's a healer not too far from me. I can feel their power. I'll heal myself." "Right. Okay." I take a deep breath and grip the handle of the knife. This is going to hurt. "You know, it's a shame we never got to finish our dance," he says. "It was the first time I could actually focus on you rather than dodging your stomping feet." I yank the knife out in one fluid motion. He grunts and doubles over on the stone. I smile slightly, having gotten revenge on him for what he said about my dancing, however true it may be. I step around the rubble and crouch in front of him, my face close to his as I watch the pain crowd his handsome features. I flip the knife in my hand, still slick with his blood. "Tell me, did that hurt as much as my stomping feet?" His laugh is gruff, pained. I stand to my feet and watch as he reaches a hand around his shoulder, pressing it atop the wound now steadily gushing blood. I stare as the shredded skin stitches itself back together. Stare as flesh and muscle reform before my very eyes, leaving nothing but a jagged scar to join the others across his back. The tension eases from his stiffened shoulders and he sighs in relief. "Much better. Thank you." I'm wondering how rarely those last two words leave his mouth when the corner of it lifts and he uncoils to his feet. "Who knew that you'd be the one to pull a knife from my back and not the one to bury it there?" "There's still plenty of time for that. Don't worry." He grins, white teeth flashing against his filthy features. Then he rolls his neck and stretches, acting as though he wasn't just impaled a few moments ago. His palm is suddenly extended towards me expectantly, and I stare at the calluses blankly. When I make no move, he slowly drops his hand to the one at my side, his rough fingers closing around my wrist. My heartbeat quickens, and I curse the stupid organ. He pulls my arm, my hand towards him, the one still clutching the throwing knife. Then his other hand brushes against my palm, gently prying the handle from my fingers. "You have enough of these to bury in my back, don't you think?" he says softly, his hand still wrapped around my wrist, where he can likely feel my stupid, stammering pulse beneath his fingers. "So, I think I'll hold on to this one." I step out of his grasp, needing to put some space between us. "Don't you have an important meeting you're supposed to be in right now?" I ask, because I simply can't think of anything else to say. "Probably," he sighs, running a hand through his hair. "I'm assuming Kit filled you in." I nod before he says, "Father will go through with the trials." A power move, of course, and he'll need to finally inform the people of what is going on. He can't hide who and what the resistance is after tonight. "What happened?" I breathe before I'm suddenly annoyed with him, remembering what he did. "What happened after you bodily removed me from this room like an ass, even though I could have helped?" Now he's laughing at me. "You seem to keep forgetting who I am, Gray." "My apologies, Your Highness." "What happened after you bodily removed me from this room like a royal ass?" "Well, that's progress, I suppose." He smiles, looking me over again with that piercing gaze of his. "And to answer your question, that wasn't your fight. Not to mention that I couldn't risk a contestant dying before the first trial even began. My laugh is bitter. You know damn well that I can take care of myself. And you know damn well that I could take care of it myself. You got stabbed, remember? Occupational hazard. We stare at each other, faces close. I can smell the sweat, blood, and dirt on him, along with the underlying scent of pine still lingering on his skin. I'm breathing heavily, and after a moment too long, I finally take a step away from him. How many casualties? I ask slowly. He looks away from me, sucking in a breath before saying, only 2 elites dead, multiple injured. 4 ordinaries dead, and only 2 prisoners. His eyes trail back to mine as he says, there were less than a dozen ordinaries to begin with, which makes me wonder what their real mission was, since I don't believe it was to attack a ballroom full of elites. I nod absent-mindedly, taking in the information. So some escaped? A muscle feathers in his jaw. Unfortunately. With that, he begins to back away from me, his eyes never leaving mine. I'll see you tomorrow, Gray. See you tomorrow, Azar. He finally turns, making his way across the ballroom as I watch his retreating form. Then he calls over his shoulder, do me a favor, darling? And what's that? Promise me you'll stay alive long enough to stab me in the back? I laugh loudly. That's been my goal all along, Prince. I nearly swallow a mouthful of damp dirt. My eyes flutter open and I cough into the wet soil beneath me, soaking my clothes and causing them to cling uncomfortably to my body. I roll onto my back, crunching on moss, twigs, and rocks as I blink against the sunlight streaming through looming tall trees. The melody of chirping birds awoke me from my heavy, deep sleep. Drugged sleep. Trees crowd the vibrant blue sky above, most of them tall, ominous pines that extend fingers of foliage high into the clouds, and I'd know them anywhere. One becomes familiar with the trees they're forced to scale countless times to overcome a fear of heights. The whispers. I'm in the bloody forest. I stand to my feet, feeling dizzy, drained, and drugged. An odd pressure at my right forearm has me looking down to see a thin leather band wrapping around it, the ends fused together tightly. It would be cutting off blood circulation completely if it were any tighter, leaving my arm utterly useless. The sun beats down on me as I spin slowly in place, scanning my surroundings. There is nothing and no one but trees, rocks, and uneven forest ground beneath me, caging me in with foliage. Why the hell am I in the whispers? Obviously, I knew the trials were still on. That and the resistance were all we talked about for hours last night. The throne room is where I spent my evening and early morning, along with Kit, the king, and his advisors. My throat is hoarse and scratchy from the long hours of arguing and debating the best course of action with this resistance, this threat. And now, more than ever, my men and myself are tasked with finding these resistance members and putting an end to them. I attempt to brush off the clumps of dirt still clinging to my clothes as I take in this familiar yet frightening place. The Whispers is no whimsical forest. Deadly beasts lurk on its huge terrain, and even deadlier plants sprout from it. I would know, seeing that I spent many nights training here with my father barking orders like I was his soldier and not his son. But why am I here now? I expected to at least be able to wake up in my own bed, maybe interrogate some prisoners before I had to make my way to the bowl for the first trial. But I sure as hell wasn't expecting to be drugged and dragged to the forest. Different. That's what Tila had said. There's never been a trial that has taken place outside of the bowl where an audience couldn't be present to jeer and cheer at us. A twig snaps, and I whirl, sinking into a fighting position. I stare at the thin man a few dozen feet away, garbed in plain white clothes that contrast against his dark skin. He stares back, his eyes glazed and unmovable. A sight. I feel it then, the tingle of his power beneath my skin. I was too occupied with my thoughts to feel his ability, the power to record as well as project what he sees with nothing but his own 2 eyes. And that is exactly what he is doing now. I've always found them unsettling with the way they stare, unblinking, when recording what they are seeing. But I've grown used to them since dozens are always present at the trials. They run around the bowl, documenting the events and contestants while using their abilities to project what they are seeing onto large screens high above the pit floor. And it seems that they are doing the same for this version of the trials. Except, he's not projecting what he is seeing and is instead storing the images away for a later time. There must be dozens of them, all running around the forest, following contestants and documenting the first trial to play back for the audience. When this is all over, I don't take a single step towards him. It's forbidden to interact with the sights, touch them in any way during the trials. They are simply the eyes and ears for the audience that can't be here to witness themselves. The man finally blinks, his eyes clearing slightly after apparently getting all the footage he wanted of me. He moves to step away, no doubt to go collect other images or stalk other contestants. But he pauses mid-step and slowly pats his long, dark fingers against the pocket of his pants, holding my gaze before scurrying back into the forest. I stare after him before tearing my gaze away and looking down at my own pocket. They threw me in here with only what I had on when I staggered into bed, apart from the shoes they so generously slipped onto my feet. Other than that, only one accessory was added to my body, the strange leather band around my arm. I silently thank the plague that I kept my thin shirt on last night, too exhausted to pull it off. I reach into the pocket of my thin pants, fingers closing around a rough scrap of paper. I unfold it carefully, revealing precise, looping penmanship. Welcome to the first trial. In the whispers you will be. We hope you stay a while. In this game of honor and dignity. The goal of this game is quite clear, and for the winner we will cheer. Become victorious by collecting the bands, the ones that rest high above your opponent's hands. Collect from those who have been banded, and be warned if you return empty-handed. If you wish to win, you must have the most, then of your glory will brag and boast. But the end is drawing near with only 6 moons to play. Welcome to the trial's 6th year, and pray to the plague that you will stay. The task of stealing as many bands as possible seems fairly simple. That is, if you can survive in the forest for a week. But I read between the lines of the poem. They are forcing us to fight one another. No one will give up their band easily. Blood has been spilled over much less than a leather strap in these trials. I crumple the paper in my fist, shoving it deep into my pocket before glancing at my own strap of leather encircling my bicep. Tight, so tight that the only way to get these plague-forsaken things off is to cut them from the skin, which will inevitably draw blood despite delicacy. It's intentional, clever. Father has outdone himself this year. Sweat trickles into my brow, stinging my eyes. The heat could rival that of the scorches, and I peel off my shirt to wipe at my slick face. My throat is already dry, parched from baking in the morning sun. Find water first. Opponents second. I stop, my feet crunching on the vegetation and rough dirt beneath me. Sighing, I look up at one of the menacing pine trees standing in my path. I shake my head, my shoulders trying to shake away my nerves. Then I grab hold of the lowest branch and swing my legs up. Yes, I've scaled these trees multiple times, and yes, I've conquered my fear of heights. But just because a fear has been conquered doesn't mean it's enjoyable to be confronted with again and again. And yet, here I am, climbing up the tree, taking each branch at a time. The wind blows and the sun blinds as I continue up the pine in search of water. Minutes, Maybe hours later, with limbs aching and heart racing, I finally reached the top. Well, the last branch that will hold my weight. I'm a couple 100 feet in the air now, suspended there by nothing but a large twig beneath my feet. I look down only to instantly regret it. Keep it together, Kai. Falling to my death during a trial would be a pathetic way to die, and would completely ruin my reputation, even in death. With that in mind, I clutch the now thin trunk of the tree beside me as I peer through the leaves and overtop the canopy of trees. I feel like I'm back in the ballroom, looking out into a sea of several shades of green. Branches full of leaves swaying in the wind like the finely dressed women swaying on the dance floor only yesterday. There. My eyes sweep over a break between the line of trees, a pause in the dance of their leaves. A sliver for a river, a brook, a source of water. At the moment, I don't care if it's a damn puddle. I painstakingly make my way back to solid ground, my breath coming in quick pants. By the time my feet meet the soil, the sun has inched its way across the sky, informing me that it is already late afternoon. And then I'm off. Off in the direction of the water every contestant craves after being drugged and having to trudge through the forest for hours. Father has woven a trap for us, one we are all willingly walking into. Hours. Long, tiresome hours of trekking through foliage is what my life has come to. I've encountered several poisonous snakes and plants, both of which daring me to draw close. I'm so bloody bored. My eyes and body are alert as I trudge forward, though my mind wanders as much as I do. I think on the trials, the contestants, and then my thoughts are on her. Stop. If Paedyn is so determined to hate me, I could make it very, very easy for her. It wouldn't take much, but I'm selfish, weak, and unwilling to make it anything but difficult for her to push me away. She's bewildering as much as she is beguiling. That pretty mouth of hers says one thing, but those ocean eyes say another. She pulls a knife from my back only to say she'll bury another one there. She's confusing, captivating, and we're completely wrong for each other in all the right ways. She's a flame, and I'm going to get burned. An ocean, and I'm going to drown. I run a hand over my face, wanting to blame my dehydration for whatever the hell is wrong with me. I've never been so affected by a single girl, and it's absurd, absolutely annoying. But then I grin, remembering her heartbeat hammering beneath my fingers, her breath catching every time I touch her, her eyes drinking in every smile and dimple she supposedly hates. The feeling of absolute annoyance for being so affected by someone is most definitely mutual, though I'm sure she'd deny it with a dagger to my throat. So very vicious, that one. Something glints in the light of the sinking sun, catching my eye. There, hanging from a branch to my right, is a sheathed sword, its silver handle winking in the light as I step towards it. It only takes me a moment to climb up and untie the belt from the branch before hopping down from the tree. There's likely weapons and other items hidden all over the whispers for us to use. Easier to draw blood that way. Easier to make things interesting. I sling the belt and sheath low on my waist before drawing the sword to chop through the thick foliage. Almost there. The ground is covered in shadows, and I now have a rabbit that needs to be cooked along with a stomach that needs to be fed. I'd come across a single throwing star lodged deep into the bark of a tree and used it on the unsuspecting rabbit now tied to my belt. I pause, hearing it before seeing it. Gurgling, glorious water. Then a small, shallow creek emerged from the trees, running water skipping over the rocks that occupy it. I hesitate, eyes scanning the seemingly peaceful place. All was clear for the time being. I creep to the edge of the creek, sinking to my knees before it, and darting a look over my shoulder every few seconds, not wanting to leave my back exposed. I splash the cool water on my face, letting it drip down my skin and bare chest. The bubbling brook flows from a small pool a few dozen feet away, the water clean, crisp, and cool. Man-made and fresh. The work of hydros, no doubt, allowing us this small favor of fresh water. I thank the plague that the water is so clean, so purified, that it saves me the trouble of having to boil it somehow. I'm scouring the area for kindling and firewood when I nearly smack my head on something hanging from the tree above, hidden in shadows. Canteens. 2 of them, swinging in the evening breeze. I find myself thanking the plague once again. Whittling 2 sticks together is about as fun as it sounds, but with years of practice and patience, I soon have a fire crackling before me. And though skinning a rabbit with a long sword is as difficult as it is damn annoying, it's soon roasting over the flames. And then, a trickle of power tingles through my body, igniting my nerves and sending a familiar chill down my spine. The hair on the back of my neck stands up, feeling that power, that strength flood my body. Someone's coming, and I know who. A twig snaps to my left. Then another. I don't remember when I stood up, but I'm now dancing on the balls of my feet, unable to help that familiar itch for a fight, and looking forward to that dance of dominance and destruction. Fighting is my favorite waltz, and I know the steps by heart. Braxton barrels through the line of trees, eyes wild when they land on mine. He saw the smoke from my fire and figured he'd ambush whoever had lit it. But unlucky for him, I felt him coming before I even heard him sprinting through the forest. I see him hesitate, as if he's debating turning back around rather than risking a fight with me. But the uncertainty flickers from his face as he begins slowly striding closer. He steps into the ring of firelight, his silhouette large and lumbering. "Hello, Brax. Nice of you to stop by." He tips his head towards me in that same way he always has. "Evening, Kai." The brawny has never been one for talking, instead choosing to patiently observe before uttering a word, making both him and Sadi oddly similar. We slowly begin to circle each other in silence, sizing one another up. "So, I'm assuming you're here for my band and not a friendly chat," I sigh, taking a step towards him. "Your assumption would be correct." He tosses a glance at my cooking rabbit. "If you offer it to me, I'll leave and let you get back to your meal. There's no need for this to get messy." I don't see any weapons on him, so I refrain from reaching for mine. We've known each other since we were boys, and I'd like to keep knowing him if I can help it. You and I both know I can't let you have my band, Brax, because it's my mission to win these trials. I think I see him nod in the growing darkness before he is suddenly charging at me. I drop low and use his momentum to throw him over my shoulder, hearing him hit the ground with a heavy thud. I've trained with Braxton for years. He's predictable, but that doesn't make him any less powerful. He's back on his feet in a flash, fists raised and ready to knock my teeth out. And then calculated chaos ensues. Fists fly, heads bob, feet weave. A dance. A brutal, bloody, beautiful dance. We are currently equals in ability, seeing that I've let his power escape from my veins and flood to the surface. My blows are brutal and swift in the flickering firelight. His fist connects with my jaw, nearly breaking it, causing hot blood to pool in my mouth. I stagger back as he steps behind me and wraps his massive arm around my throat in a chokehold. I can feel his hesitance before my head snaps back, skull meeting his nose with a sickening crunch. Now he's staggering, blood streaming from his nose and into his mouth. I use the split second to pepper him with swift blows that he can barely block. He recovers quickly, jabbing at my ribs with a powerful fist. I duck under his next swing and land a blow to his jaw. It's a vicious cycle. I hit him. He hits me back. To his credit, I'm impressed. I've never seen him so focused, so determined. This is the best fight I've had with him to date. It's a shame I'll have to put an end to it. A dark hand comes flying straight at my face. I easily take a step back, my heels connecting with something, as heat warms everything from the back of my legs to the nape of my neck. The fire. He's cornered me against the fire. Clever. I bob under a fist intended for my nose and bury my own deep into his stomach. He grunts, doubling over but grabs my arm in one swift movement. Then he twists, pulling both my arm behind my back and my chest towards the fire. Pain laces up to my shoulder as the flames glow in front of me. Maybe I should have tried harder. He kicks in the back of my knees, hard before the even harder ground sends a jolt up my legs when I collide with it. The flames are close to me now, nearly licking my bare chest. "Just let me cut off the band, Kai," Braxton says from above me, sounding like a plea. It's good to know that he doesn't exactly like the idea of burning me alive. This can all be over. His voice is deep, but I catch the slight quiver in it. He's caught off guard, shocked that he has me hovering over the flames like the now burnt rabbit beside me. I was sloppy and tired, a fool who underestimated him. But now he has the future enforcer at his mercy. This is the best fight we've ever had, Brax. I'm impressed, truly. I pant, the heat of the fire drawing beads of sweat down my face. But you're going to have to burn me before I let you have my band. He heaves a sigh. I had a feeling you'd say that. A pause, and I wish it didn't have to be this way. Flesh meets fire. Skin meets searing, hot flame. I expect a scream to tear from my throat, but nothing but a strangled cry slips past my lips. Braxton's knee drives into my back, angling my body and forcing the left side of my chest into the flames. I'm burning, boiling, blistering as he holds me there before finally pulling me back, allowing cool air to wash over me. I'm gasping as he reaches with his other hand towards the sword at my side, ready to draw it from its sheath and cut the band from my arm, now that I'm dazed with pain. Oh, but I've known pain far worse. His arm reaches beside me, and I grab it, standing to my feet in the same motion, adrenaline drowning out the ache of my burned flesh. I pull his arm over my shoulder and tip my body forward, using my momentum and brawny strength to lift him off the ground and send him flipping over my back and straight into the flames. He lets out a cry but doesn't linger for long before rolling out of the flames, yelping as he wriggles in the dirt to smother the fire eating away at his clothes, his skin. Smoke is curling from his burned clothing when I crouch over him. I wish it didn't have to be this way either, I say softly as he pants heavily beneath me. But you have something I need. I slice the band from his forearm, unable to stop from nicking him and drawing more blood. His breathing is raspy as I search his pockets for any other bands he may have stolen on the way. Finding none. I stand, staring down at him and uttering one word. Go. He stares up at me for a moment before grunting in pain as he scrambles to his feet, limping into the woods as quickly as his charred body is able. I watch him leave, hearing him struggle to navigate through the dark woods, knowing he won't dare to come back. Then I turn, looking directly at the site I knew had been documenting the entire fight. Hope you enjoyed the show, I say with a mock bow of my head. As soon as the words left my mouth, the women in white blinked and vanished into the forest. I tuck Braxton's band into my pocket as pain racks my body. Blinding, blistering pain. I look down at the red, inflamed patch of skin right above my tattoo. The adrenaline is gone, and I'm left with nothing but pain coursing through my body. I stagger over to my canteens, unscrewing one and pouring the cold contents over the burn. I hiss through my teeth when water meets burned flesh, but it's a relief, however small it may be. I grab my crumpled shirt from my pocket and tear a large strip of cloth from it with my teeth, before beginning to gingerly wrap the fabric under my arm and over the burn. The result is a makeshift bandage to try and lessen the chance of infection. But it won't do for long. I need to find some herbs, something, anything, to clean the wound. Because dying is not an option. And losing these trials certainly isn't either. I am going to wring your neck if you don't shut up. The bird completely ignores my very real threat of death and continues to squabble on the branch above my head. It's been squawking for nearly half an hour, resulting in me throwing at least a dozen rocks in its direction. I'm annoyed, angry, anxious, and above all, absolutely starving. Of course, these are all side effects of waking up in the middle of the wilderness with nothing but the clothes I slept in. I look down at my tight cloth pants and even more revealing tank. A skimpy, silky thing that I regret ever putting on, considering it will now be my only shirt for the next week. A week. That's how long I must survive in this forest. In the whispers. In this place, crawling with enemies of all shapes and sizes. Though it's already midday and the only opponent I've faced so far is the snake that nearly bit my foot off. I've been trekking through the thick foliage since the moment I woke up, face down in the dirt, after blinking awake to a staring woman clad in blinding white. A sight. Here to spy on the opponents. Here to record this bloody trial. Here to document what the audience is not able to witness for themselves. I'm sure the rest of Elia is just as confused as I am about this year's trials, though I can't say we weren't warned. Different. That's all the warning we got. Except that different does not even begin to describe how drastically these trials have changed. In the past 3 decades, there has never been a trial outside of the bowl walls, outside of the prying eyes of the audience. But only the best, the most brutal and bloody trials are fit to test the future enforcer, I suppose. I just wish I wasn't a part of it. We've all been unwittingly thrown into the deadly whispers, left to die by the elements or by the hand of our enemies. It's brilliant. It's bastardly. And I don't know whether to clap or cry. I should expect nothing less from the king. My eyes dart to my right forearm, where the leather strap is wrapped tightly. Collect from those who have been banded and be warned if you return empty-handed. I laugh bitterly to the emptiness surrounding me. They want us to fight, truly fight one another for these strips of leather. So, in an effort to stay alive long enough to find another opponent, I set out to find water. The trees here are tremendous and terrifying, towering high in the air and scraping the low clouds. It took me ages to scale one to find the closest water source, and the past several seriously boring hours have consisted of trudging towards what I'm hoping is a creek. Except now I'm sitting under a tree and arguing with a bird. I chuck another rock at it for good measure, before turning my attention back to the bundle of sticks at my side. I pick up another arrowhead that I've collected along the way, one of the generous gifts left to aid us, and fasten it onto one of the sticks. I've been making arrows for far too long now to accompany the bow and quiver I found conveniently resting against the trunk of a tree, as if the elites need weapons. The feathers supplied by the annoying yet useful bird above complete the arrow. I stare at my handiwork with a small smile, studying all 7 wobbly arrows now filling the quiver. Thanks to my father, this was not my first time having to craft an arrow from scratch, and my smile grows at the distant memory. I throw the quiver over my shoulder and cross the bowstring along my chest, saying my goodbyes to the bird still perched in the tree. I heave a sigh and begin, once again, heading towards the water I so desperately need. My feet are light and quiet as I tread across the terrain, my eyes peeled for any animal I can devour. There, a fat rabbit hops out of the bushes a few dozen feet away, completely unaware of my ill intentions for it. I pull the bow over my head and slip an arrow from the quiver. I knock it, aim, and breathe deeply just as my father taught me to. And then I send the arrow flying towards its mark. Straight through the rabbit's eye. It's dead before it even crumples to the ground. I snatch up the animal, wipe the arrowhead on a nearby plant I hope wasn't poisonous, and return the arrow to my quiver. Find water. Start a fire. Eat food. And then I'm back to walking, tripping over tree roots and stumbling over stones. Riveting. I let my thoughts run wild as I keep a steady pace through the foliage, thinking of my opponents. The ball, the calloused hands on my back, and gray eyes studying my face. I huff in annoyance and kick a rock harder than I should. A string of curse words spills from my mouth, directed at the rock, myself, and the cocky bastard I hate for not completely hating. The sun is making its descent across the sky as I continue to trample through the greenery, swearing at the multiple spider webs I walk through, and the giant spiders that accompany them. A sight catches up to me and I try my hardest to ignore his presence. Once he's satisfied with the footage he's collected of me stomping and huffing through the forest, he turns and disappears. Warm, late afternoon sunlight streams through the trees, casting the forest in golden shadows. For a moment, I allow myself to take in the ominous beauty of this eerie place, and then something hits me in the face. Well, I hit something. I nearly trip backwards, sputtering, only to find that I walked right into a large cotton shirt hanging from a low branch. I grab it, grumbling about how I don't need the king's kindnesses even as I slip on the garment. I walk and walk. I'm bored. I'm bored during a bloody trial. And then something catches the light, glittering out of the corner of my eye. I pivot towards it, leaves crunching beneath my feet. My mouth nearly falls open at what lies no more than 30 yards away from me. A deep pool of crystal water sparkles in the sunlight, rippling slightly in the warm breeze. Welcoming and wonderful. I blink. I didn't see this pool when I was high in the tree, scouting. Then again, the shimmering water is surrounded by trees, nearly swallowed by the foliage around it. I practically trip in my haste to reach it. Water. I'm so thirsty, so greedy to gulp as much as I can, then build a fire, cook my rabbit, and there's something in the water, bobbing on top of it. I'm much closer now, the sun not so blinding as it glints off the clear surface, and I can make out an outline on top. A human outline. I creep forward, pulling my bow from across my chest, clutching it in my fist. The figure isn't moving. The figure with dirty blonde hair plastered to his tanned forehead. The figure with the same glassy green eyes as the king, staring unseeingly up at the blue sky. A strangled scream rips from my throat, sending birds scattering out from the trees around me. Kit. He's dead. I'm gasping, stumbling to the edge of the pool. I may hate his father and the kingdom he will one day rule, but that doesn't mean I wish to see him dead. The thought startles me, considering how very much I crave that fate for the king that looks so much like him. But what if their familiar features are where the similarities between them end? What if there is hope for the prince to step out of his father's shadow, out of his footsteps, and create change in his kingdom? I force myself to meet his glossy gaze, where I now only see the potential of the prince rather than the presence of his father. Those once amused green eyes will never crinkle with laughter again. Instead, they stare up at nothing, wide, dull, and leeched of life. That crooked grin will never again grace his lips. Instead, his mouth is pressed in a thin line, blue, kissed by the chill of death. I jump into the pool, wanting to pull him from this watery death. Instead, my feet are met with solid ground. My bones sing with the impact, feeling as though they will crack with the force. I blink away the pain, though it does nothing to clear my confusion. There is suddenly no pool under my feet, no kit floating dead on its surface. I look at the dirt beneath me in disbelief, trying to puzzle out what is going on. Help me. I knock an arrow and draw my bow before I've even turned to face the owner of that broken little voice. I choke on my gasp. It's me. Deep blue eyes bore into mine, sad, starved eyes. Long silver hair, tangled and matted, hangs from the little girl's head. She is. I am. Small, so small. Weak and weary and wide-eyed as she stares up at me. She stretches a bony finger towards me. Please, she whimpers. I stumble back at the sound of that, my broken voice, nearly losing my footing when she takes a shaky step closer. This isn't real. I turn, ready to run from this nightmare, only to nearly run into another little Paedyn, her cheeks sunken and eyes hollow. I'm delusional. Dehydrated. I bite my tongue to keep from screaming as I turn to my right, finding another starved version of myself staring back at me. I'm surrounded, completely surrounded by pleading Paedyns. They step forward, begging me to help them as they reach out, trying to grab hold of me. This time, I don't bother biting back my scream. They are closing in, crowding me. I'm crying out, confused and, no, not delusional. They stagger towards me, seeking help I can't give them. This is Ace. Even knowing that, I still can't stand to look at them, to look at myself. Can't stand to hear them begging for help as I do nothing. This was me. I was this starved and sad girl once. Because when my father died, so did a piece of myself. This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. I cry out, dropping to my knees and clutching my head in frustration. I know it's you, Ace, I shout through clenched teeth. I hear haughty laughter grow louder as he makes his way towards me. Taking a deep breath, I stand to my feet, shaking with disgust and rage as I prepare myself to be surrounded by sickly Paedyns. But the pleading stops and the Paedyns vanish, leaving only Ace standing before me. His gaze drops to the arrow pointed at his chest before traveling back to mine. He has the audacity to smirk. Hello, Paedyn? His voice is smug as he quirks an eyebrow. Did you enjoy catching up with your younger self? You're sick, I spit, pulling my bowstring taut. He sighs, already bored with our conversation. Sticking his nose in the air, he says, "Just let me take your band, and I'll be on my way." A pause. In fact, I'll even let you take it off yourself, so I don't cut you. How generous. I'm practically growling at him, but I'll pass on the offer. My teeth are bared, and I'm a flinch away from sending an arrow flying towards that black heart of his. He blinks at me, slicking his brown hair back from his face with an irritated huff. Fine. His eyes darken. Have it your way. I don't mind having to get messy. And then he's striding towards me, reaching for my arm. I don't hesitate before firing my arrow into his thigh, aiming to injure and not to kill. I refuse to give the king and the people what they desire, death. Except the arrow never meets skin, never sinks into flesh. It flies right through him. The illusion blows away like smoke on the wind, tempting me to scream in frustration. Another Ace steps out from behind a tree a few feet away, leaves crunching under his feet as he claps slowly. Wow. Good try. He grips a sharp spear in his hand, smiling like a cat. Quit hiding behind your illusions, you coward. I'm fuming, adrenaline pumping through my veins. This one is the real Ace. I'm certain of it. The leaves gave him away, crunching when he stepped on them, unlike the first time he walked over to me. He seems to sense that I figured it out. And right as I'm about to bury an arrow in him, he surrounds himself with a dozen duplicates, hiding within them. They all speak in unison as they begin to surround me, masking the sound of any crunching leaves. "If you give me the band now, I won't hurt you." "Badly." They laugh, and it's a sickening sound, seeming to bounce around in my skull. I spin in a circle, not knowing who to aim for. I only have 6 arrows now, and I can't afford to waste a single one. They are closing in on me, closing in for the kill. Find the real ace. Easier said than done. They all look and move exactly the same, all holding spears and ready to stab me, though only the real one can do any damage. "I'm going to enjoy this, Paedyn," they say, smiling. My eyes flick over each of their bodies. I take in their identical stances, their identical facial expressions, their identical everything. I will not die. I will not die. I will not die. And then my eyes snag on a particular ace, identical to the others. "Found you." The tiny bead of sweat trickling down the side of his temple is all it takes to give him away. The only sign of his struggle to cast the illusions. I raise my bow towards him at the exact moment he lunges towards me. I jump to the side, but not before pain erupts across my stomach. Searing, stinging pain that I ignore as I release my arrow, letting it fly straight into the flesh of his leg. He screams, dropping to his knees in the dirt, hands trembling as they wrap around the arrow protruding from his thigh. But I don't give him, or the sight now watching, a second glance before I spin and sprint. I don't know how far I've made it. Don't know how much distance I've put between us before the adrenaline bleeds from my body, reminding me that I'm bleeding. The searing pain is back, punching me so hard in the gut that I'm panting. I lift my loose shirt to reveal the silky tank beneath it, now sopped with blood. I take a deep breath and pull up the layer of cloth separating me from the wound, before shuddering at the sight of it. A long, bloody gash slices open the skin right beneath my rib. A spear wound. My breaths come in shaky, shallow pants. At least I'm alive, but I sure as hell don't feel alive. It's excruciating. The pain is biting and blazing, setting my nerves on fire. I gingerly pull off the large shirt, wincing and choking back cries of pain with every lift of my right arm. The movement pulls at the skin, the gash, causing it to gush even more blood. I rip the bottom hem of the shirt, creating a wide strip of white fabric. I work as swiftly as the injury will allow me, gingerly wrapping the cloth around my waist and over the wound. I gasp for air at the throbbing pain this causes, blinking away tears, as I pull on what is left of the shirt, so large it still covers my stomach. I need to find water. I heave a shaky sigh, that action alone jolting a sharp pain through me, as I begin walking again through the forest. No, stumbling is more like it. Stay awake. My traitorous eyelids feel like lead. With each blink, I'm afraid they won't open again. I've been slowly stumbling through the shadowy forest towards the creek for what feels like hours, blindly hoping I'm still headed in the right direction. I'm tired. So very tired. I want nothing more than to slump against a tree and close my eyes for a minute. Just one blissful moment of peace. No. I pinch my arm hard, causing my drooping eyelids to fly open. If I fall asleep, I likely won't wake back up. I'm in bad shape, and I don't need to be the daughter of a healer to realize it. I've lost so much blood, making my head swim as I try to keep my footing. I shake my head, trying to ignore my fevered skin and shivering body. Just like I ignore that the strip of cloth I used as a bandage is already soaked with blood, staining the cotton scarlet. I need to clean the wound, and soon. If I don't, I'm as good as dead. What I need is water. Every part of me burns. Burns with pain and thirst and hunger. If I can just get to some water, I can wash out the wound at the very least, cure my dehydration, and come to my senses long enough to create a concoction of herbs to clean the injury. I hope. Then I'd worry about eating. Seeing that I can barely pull back my bowstring, and the rabbit I shot is long forgotten at the site where Ace ambushed me, leaving me defenseless and starving. Get to the creek. A faint orange glow peeks through the trees ahead of me, blurry from my drooping eyes. I squint at it, unsure if I'm hallucinating or not. I tighten my sweaty grip on the bow, already knocked with an arrow, though it's practically useless if I can't pull back the damn string to fire it. I continue to creep closer to the fire flickering a few dozen yards away, completely unattended. The light it casts reflects off something shimmering beside it. The creek. A relieved, breathy laugh escapes me as I cautiously continue forward. I'm being reckless, of course, but I don't particularly care in this state. Someone started this fire, and I may be walking straight towards them. But I'll die if I don't get to that water, though I might be killed if I do. Both options will likely lead to my imminent death. Great. I'm only a few feet away from the fire now, my eyes searching the shadows for any sign of the human who lit it. Get to the water. Get to the... You just can't seem to stay away from me, can you, Gray? I halt, heart hammering. I can hear the amusement in his voice, practically picture the dimples peeking out on either side of his smirk. I take a deep breath, mentally preparing myself for the excruciating pain I'm about to endure. Whipping around, I raise my bow and pull the string taut. I swallow my cry of pain as I feel my wound tearing, stretching with the movement. I can't let him see I'm injured. Put on a show. Get to the water. The tip of my arrow is pointed at his heart, and I just make out his exposed chest in the flickering light. It looks as though I'm not the first opponent he's encountered, nor am I the first one to aim something at his heart. He's wrapped a strip of cloth under his arm and around a wound just above his swirling tattoo. My eyes flick back to his, willing the agony from my features, willing him to see me as a threat. His gaze sweeps over me with an expression I can't decipher. But I'm not in the mood or headspace to puzzle him out. Leave or I shoot. My arm is beginning to tremble with the effort and pain of keeping the bow trained on him. He only chuckles and takes a step towards me. Good to see you too, Gray. You think I'm kidding? How cute. I bite out the words, my chest heaving. What? That's it? You're just going to shoot me? His lips twitch. Where's the fun in that? Oh, it'll be fun for me, I assure you. My voice is shaky. I'm shaky. Kai takes another step towards me, cocking his head to the side. His hands are casually in his pockets as he looks me over again. I'm confused. You do realize that the point of this trial is to take my band, correct? His smirk grows. Or at least try. Well, I'm letting you off easy by allowing you to leave. The words don't sound threatening in the slightest. I'm swaying on my feet now, head spinning. I can't do this for much longer. I can feel the hot blood running down my stomach from my torn wound, and black dots are swimming in front of my eyes, threatening to swallow me whole. I'm going to pass out. What if I don't wake up? What if I die because I wasn't strong enough? Because I'm a weak ordinary. Gray. Between my drooping eyelids, I can see Kai take a hesitant step towards me, all amusement wiped from his face. And I must truly be hallucinating because I think I see worry flickering in his gaze. Gray, what happened? He's stepping slowly towards me, but I can't keep my hold on the bow any longer. For a reason I can't explain, I aim at the ground instead of him, releasing my grip on the string and letting the arrow fly into the dirt at his feet before the bow slips from my sweaty hand. I can barely hear Kai's shout through the ringing in my ears. I don't remember hitting the ground. My face connects with the packed earth, but I barely feel it. My whole body is on fire, hardly breathing as I burn from the inside out. Hey, look at me. Rough hands are gripping the sides of my face, forcing my eyes to flutter open. They feel cold against my fevered skin, now slick with sweat, and concern is written all over the beautiful face hovering over me. I've never seen him so worried, so full of emotion. His cool mask has cracked, shattered, splintered into a million pieces as he lifts my head off the ground, pulling me towards him to search my face with wide, gray eyes. And then he's gone. Darkness. Calloused hands are pushing the damp hair off my forehead, while words are muttered close to my face. Stay with me. His voice is stern despite the panic lacing each word. Slowly, I force my eyes to crack open, while I croak out quiet words through cracked lips. Words that suddenly seem so important. You've never called me that before. I've only ever heard him say my real name once, when he had me pinned against an alley wall, while he tested the word out for the first time. But I haven't heard my name slip past his lips since. Haven't heard the way the two syllables sound rolling off his tongue. And I've certainly never heard him call me Paedyn. I'm smiling up at him now, grinning like an idiot. I can't stop. Delusional. I'm completely and undeniably delusional. But in this moment, I don't want to die, if only so I could hear him say my name one more time. Delirious. I'm so very delirious. He's suddenly still. His eyes roam over my face, lips slightly parted as he takes me in. Then he blinks. Once. Twice. His dark lashes flutter, gray eyes flicking between mine as he says, "Remind me to make you smile like that again. When you aren't dying and I have all the time in the world to memorize it." Now it's my turn to blink at him. Once. Twice. That comment was all it took to wake me up, because now my eyes don't seem to want to stray from his. I must have heard him wrong. I'm so delirious that my mind is playing tricks on me, playing with my emotions, my feelings. But I'm certainly not imagining the hands that are running up my body. I nearly choke on my ragged breath when his fingers brush my ankles, slowly running up each of my legs. He's trying to find the wound. I open my mouth to tell him where it is, but my head is spinning and I'm on the verge of passing out from the pain. I breathe heavily, trying to calm my pounding head and heart. His fingers pass over my legs, gently poking and prodding as he searches for the wound. Once he's satisfied that my legs are functioning just fine, his hands slide up to my hips, lifting me slightly off the ground to run a hand over my lower back. His brows are knit in concentration as his fingers feel over my lower stomach, his movements swift. Steady, sure. This isn't the first time he's done this. His hands slide up my abdomen, around my waist. Pain like I've never experienced before erupts from the wound when his fingers dance over it, followed by a strangled sob tearing from my throat. The pain is so blinding that I think I'm about to black out. And I find myself wanting to, if only so I don't have to feel like this anymore. I watch through blurry vision as he lifts the hem of the tattered shirt to reveal the silky one beneath soaked with blood. He sighs through his nose before lifting the hem of the tank, exposing my fevered skin to the cool night. There's a flash of something small and sharp in his hands as he begins to carefully cut the bloodied cloth from around my middle. His jaw tightens at the sight of the jagged wound stretching below my ribcage, a muscle ticking in his cheek. His eyes, full of an emotion I've never seen from him before, trace the bloody mess on my stomach. And then my own eyes slam shut, sealing the image of him out, leaving him in the world that is beginning to fade. Paedyn. Kai's voice is so far away, so distant from where I'm slipping into oblivion. Paedyn, open your eyes. It's an order, strong and stern. And I ignore it. How very typical of me. Even in death, my body refuses to listen to the commands of the future enforcer. Tired. I'm so very tired. Far, far away, I hear a male voice muttering panicked words. If you die, I'm going to kill you. She's too stubborn to die, and I'm too stubborn to let her. I brush a hand over her forehead, her fevered skin hot to the touch, her breaths coming in shallow pants. She's dehydrated, delusional, dying of hunger. Just dying. My eyes flick back to the bloody gash slicing under her rib, inflamed and no doubt infected. I pull out the remains of my crumpled shirt and begin dabbing at the wound, trying to sop up some of the blood so I can see exactly what I'm dealing with. The skin is torn, jagged, and likely looks much worse when it's not concealed by shadows. But what's even more concerning is that I have no idea how to help her. I have no supplies and no healing ability around me to draw from, making me utterly useless. I'm holding her life in my useless, unequipped hands. I stand to my feet, searching for my canteens in the dim light. She needs water. That's what she came here for after all. Why she risked walking straight into someone's camp. She needed water. Needed it to drink, to wash out her wound. But that won't save her. I can't save her. I sigh in frustration, threatening to lose my temper as I run my hands through my hair, still searching for those damn canteens. But my mind won't stop replaying the scene, won't stop reeling over what just happened. I knew something was wrong when I saw her arm trembling. Saw it shake with the strain of keeping the bow aimed at me, ready to make good on her threat to shoot. Then I saw her knees shake, saw the fire extinguish from her burning blue eyes. But above all, she wasn't playing with me, wasn't teasing me, or twisting her mouth into that sly smile of hers that I enjoy so much. And that's what worried me the most. And now I'm suddenly furious with her. She wanted me to leave. She was going to try and deal with this alone. She would have died alone. She's so damn stubborn that she would choose to fight me until she collapsed rather than let me see her injured. The image of her crumpling to the ground sends a chill through me, icing over my burning rage. You would think I'd be numb to witnessing hurt by now, watching death claim another victim. But when she crumpled, something inside of me cracked. The sight of her so weak, so vulnerable, so unlike herself, was enough to shatter a piece of the soul I'd forgotten I had. My feet stumble over something in the darkness. Finally, I bend down to snatch up the canteen, only for my fingers to fold around a small tin box. I step closer to the firelight, casting a glance over my shoulder at the wheezing Paedyn. I don't have time for this. I'm about to chuck the box as far as I can, out of fury and frustration, when the symbol painted onto the lid catches in the light, catching my attention. A faded green diamond stains the top, and I don't hesitate before ripping open the lid to reveal a small vial of inky liquid. I stare at it. Stare at the miracle in the form of a healing salve crafted by the healers themselves, strong enough to mend even the most menacing wounds. And then I'm laughing dryly, unable to stop. The absurdity, the sheer impossibility of this all has me hysterical. Braxton must have picked it up in the forest somewhere and dropped it during our fight. Paedyn's salvation has been hiding in the shadows this whole time. Thank the plague, I mutter, shaking my head in disbelief as my foot finally meets one of my canteens on the ground. I'm on my knees beside her in a matter of moments, her chest barely rising with shallow breaths. I yank the salve from the box, revealing a needle and thick thread for stitching wounds lying beneath. I find myself laughing again. Unbelievable. Bloody unbelievable. I carefully pour some of the dark liquid onto a clean corner of my remaining shirt. This is going to sting, so it's convenient that she's unconscious when I press the cloth against her wound, letting the salve seep into the gash. Slowly, I make my way across the cut, watching as the steady flow of blood already begins to slow. I dab the fabric against a particularly deep part of the gash, and her eyes fly open before her hand flies towards my face. Damn. Her slap is shockingly hard for someone who was just dangerously close to meeting death. My head is still turned to the side from the shock and impact of her hit, but a slow smile pulls up my lips. Ouch. I finally look at her, finding wild blue eyes staring up at me. She's panting, clearly confused. Is that how you thank me for saving your life? I scan her face, relieved to already see some color blooming on her cheeks, see her eyes gleaming again with that familiar fire. I'm the one who should be saying ouch. What the hell is that? It stings. She's breathless and shaking all over. Her eyes dart from her clean wound to the salve still clutched in my hand. And then she's trying to sit up. It's a good effort, despite her grunting in pain. Easy, darling. I place a hand on her uninjured side, fitting right into the curve of her waist, as I slowly press her back down to the forest floor. You can slap me all you want once you're healed, but until then, try to keep your hands to yourself. How am I alive? Her voice is so quiet that her question is nearly drowned out by the chirping crickets surrounding us. Her eyes are trained on the sky, not daring to look at me. We have Braxton to thank for that. I grab the water canteen and push it to her lips. Drink. You're dehydrated, though you are quite fun when you're delusional. She glares at me as I tip the canteen back, letting her gulp down the water greedily. She eyes me expectantly, and I sigh, elaborating. Braxton paid me a little visit earlier, and he must have dropped the salve he'd found during our fight. I sigh, and I doubt he's too happy about that, seeing that he could have used it for himself. She pushes my hand away, refusing to drink any more until she gets some answers. Stubborn little thing. So, you didn't? Her eyes glance between my bandaged injury to my face, trying to read me. No, I didn't kill him, I say dully, answering the question in her gaze. She gives me a strange look, one I've only seen her offer me a few times before. I clear my throat and look away, leaning back on my palms as she continues to study me. Killing isn't a hobby of mine, I'll have you know. I felt like I needed to say it. Felt like I needed to admit that to her, to myself. What I do, what I've done, has had a purpose, a reason. I'm still a monster, just not the kind that loves the hateful things they do. There's that look again. It's like she's seeing straight through my many masks, tearing down my walls, stripping me bare with nothing but her gaze. I hate it. I love it. I feel free. I feel trapped. The thought that a single pair of blue eyes can leave me so vulnerable, so exposed, is alarming. So, I do what it is I do best, deflect. I clear my throat before leaning forward and grabbing my ragged shirt. After dumping the rest of the salve onto the fabric, I gently press it to her wound. She hisses, and her eyes fly to mine, full of a fire that makes me chuckle. Oh, this isn't even the worst part, darling. I still have to stitch you up. She steadies her shaky breaths, long lashes fluttering shut as she says, "Why are you doing this?" A very valid question, though I don't intend on answering it until I get some answers of my own. I grab the brutally blunt needle and begin the painstaking process of threading it through with the thick medical string. Why don't I ask the questions? My stare is leveled at her, unyielding and unfeeling. But it's simply another mask, seeing that I'm currently simmering with rage. Which one of them did this to you? Her eyes fly open, looking more confused and unsure of herself than I've ever seen before. But she recovers quickly, huffing out a shaky laugh. She turns her head to the side to look at me from where she lays on a bed of moss, dirt, and leaves. It doesn't matter. And that is the only answer she deems to give me, before rolling her head back towards the starry sky hanging above us, avoiding my gaze. My fingers find her chin, and then I'm tugging her face back in my direction, so I can look her in the eyes as I say, I'm going to ask again. Who did this to you? My hand is still gripping her chin, her strong jaw, as she holds my gaze and says, why do you care? Then she's laughing bitterly, the sound vibrating under my fingers. Because I don't tolerate my toys being played with. She is going to hate that. Your what? She stops, her eyes smoldering, her temper rising. Is that what you think I am? Some toy you can play with? Yes, and clearly quite a fragile one at that. Plagues, if I wasn't already going to hell, I am now. She sputters. Actually sputters. I've never seen her at such a loss for words before, and I must say, it's very entertaining. What the hell is wrong with you? Oh, so you think I'm fragile? I'll show you just how fragile I... There, I say calmly, cutting her off mid-threat. The first stitch is always the worst, especially with how blunt this needle is. She blinks, snapping her mouth shut when she looks down to see the needle I've pushed through the gash without her even realizing. Too angry to feel the pain, which was exactly what I was hoping for. You are. She's sputtering again, so I kindly finish for her. Intelligent, irresistible, calculating, cocky, and a completely arrogant bastard, she pants. That is what I was going to say. A smile tugs at my lips. Good to see you're feeling well enough to insult me. I grab the needle again and pinch the skin around her wound closer together, preparing to make another stitch by the light of the fire. You distracted me, she murmurs, as though she's still taking in the information. Then she huffs out a laugh as she adds, You distracted me by being an ass. But it worked nonetheless. I look up at her briefly before saying, Yes, I was an ass. And I need you to know that I didn't mean what I said. I push the needle through her skin as I speak, using my words as another distraction, though she still lets out a small hiss of pain. You're no toy, let alone a delicate one. She watches me work, and I will myself not to melt under her burning gaze. Tell me about home. About loot, I say, trying to take her mind off the needle piercing her skin. Loot wasn't exactly a home to me. She's quiet, and I catch her chewing the inside of her cheek before she continues. I had a home once. It was just me and my father, but we were happy. She winces when I make another stitch, but her next words are as blunt as the needle. And then he died, and my home became Adana. We made a living in loot together. She made loot worth living in. How long have you lived on the streets? 5 years. I was 13 when my father died, and ever since then, I've lived in a pile of garbage Adina, generously called the fort. She laughs bitterly at that. From ages 13 to 15, the two of us were barely surviving. But then we grew up. We figured things out and fell into a routine that kept us fed and clothed. We each had our own skills that kept us alive. I let her words, her story, sink in. I wonder silently what had happened to her father, or her mother for that matter. So, your father taught you to fight then? I ask curiously. Ever since I was a child. He knew my ability wasn't one I could use physically, so he made sure I was never truly defenseless. Her voice is shaky as I thread the needle through the deepest part of the wound. Her hand shoots up and grips my forearm, nails biting into my skin as she bites her tongue to keep from crying out in pain. And the dagger you like to wear on your thigh so much, I clear my throat. Was that your father's? Yes, it is. It was. Her laugh is strained. I suppose you have him to thank for my violent tendencies. I glance up and grin before saying warily, And your mother. Do I have her to thank for any of your wonderful qualities? Dead. Her tone is flat, She died of sickness shortly after I was born. I never knew her. I'm reminded of Kit and how his mother died in a similar manner. A tragedy the two of them share. Her grip on my arm only tightens as I keep pushing the needle through her skin, slowly making my way to the end of the gash. Her eyes are squeezed shut against the pain, refusing to cry or even cry out. So stubborn. So strong. Just a little more, Paedyn, I breathe. She shudders and I don't miss the movement. Whether because of the pain or because I finally said her name, I'm not sure. I'm reminded of when she hit the ground. When I was feral, frantic, and I suddenly realized that I hadn't said her name to her since we met. And in that moment, I realized that I'd wanted to say it. Wanted her to hear it from my lips. Realized that if she died, I would never again get to look into those blue eyes and utter those two syllables that have been a constant in my mind. So I said her name again and again. I finally let myself do it. Let that last piece of attachment to her lock into place. Just saying her name felt intimate, personal somehow. And now I forever want her name on my lips and rolling off my tongue until I'm drunk on the taste and sound of it. What the hell is wrong with me? Her eyes find mine, sparkling like a body of water in the firelight. Why are you doing this? Her gaze tells me that there's no escaping the question this time, though I'm not even sure I have an answer for her or myself. All I know is that I have this urge to protect her, be with her, tease her, touch her. It's terrifying. What's the fun in winning by default? I say instead. What kind of gentleman would I be if I took your leather and left you to die? She lifts her head off the ground, eyes searching mine as she scoffs. So you're telling me that you did all of this to be a gentleman? Why does that come as such a surprise to you? Maybe because you have to be a gentleman to be gentlemanly. And who says I'm not? I'd like to find someone who says you are. I smile at her, taking in every detail of her face beneath mine. I open my mouth to say something witty and wildly inappropriate when a twig snaps to my left. A sight watches us with glazed eyes, documenting the scene before him. And I'm embarrassed that I have no idea how long he has been standing there, not with how distracted I was with the girl before me. I can only imagine what father will make of this. Of us. Of me helping, saving, enjoying being with the girl from the slums. Wouldn't be the first time I've disappointed him, and it certainly won't be the last. The sight blinks, clearing his blurry eyes before disappearing into the night. I turn back towards Paedyn, her attention still fixed on the spot where the man once was. Then I look down at her exposed stomach, and the wound now completely stitched there. I begin wrapping the remains of her large shirt over the wound and around her waist. Paedyn's eyes follow my movements, tracking my hands and tracing my face. You never did answer my question, I say far more casually than I currently feel. You'll have to be more specific than that, Azur. I asked, who the hell did this to you? She laughs dismissively, turning her head from mine. Oh, that question. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, then tell me. She shoots me an annoyed look before she sighs, giving in. Ace. Happy now? He used his illusions to draw me in. She's suddenly pale again. He made me see things. I've never seen her look so haunted, and I'm shocked by how much I hate it. Did you kill him? No, she says softly. No, I didn't kill him. We fall silent, and I run my hand over her crude bandage, making sure it's secure as she stares at me. Then I hand her the water canteen before forcing her to choke down some burnt rabbit. I busy myself around the small camp, and when I look back at Paedyn from where I stoke the flames of the dying fire, her lids are drooping, eyelashes fluttering with the promise of sleep. Then I catch her shiver slightly in the brisk night breeze. Well, that just won't do. I kneel beside her, scooping her into my arms before pulling her off the ground and carrying her closer to the fire. She grunts groggily against my chest before I lay her down on the packed dirt, watching her chest rise and fall with steady breaths, so unlike the ragged, shallow ones she choked on earlier. And then I sit there. I can't seem to tear my eyes away as she drifts to sleep beside the fire, alive and breathing deeply. She shakes again, making me wish I had a blanket to offer her, had something to offer her. The truth of that thought hits me like a blow to the gut. I have nothing to offer her. I am wrong, so wrong for her. She is too brave, too bold, too bloody good for me. Maybe I could be a better man. Maybe I could be more like Kit with his heart on his sleeve and happiness on display. Maybe the future enforcer could break down a few walls, become a man who is more than the masks he wears around his people. But ever since she discovered I was the prince and declared us enemies, I've played along, not wanting to be outdone. And it's fun. It's a distraction for the both of us, the toying and teasing with one another. But now, if I am to be her enemy, I want it to be because she loathes herself for wanting me. I wake to the unfortunately familiar sound of birds squawking above me. I woke up. Squinting in the blinding sun, I gently run my hands over where my healing wound hides beneath the folds of battered cloth. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm healing. Then my fingers find their way to the strap of leather tight around my arm. I'm shocked to find it's still there. Shocked that Kai didn't cut it from my dying body in the first place. Shocked that he saved my life, nursed me back to health, and let me keep my stupid strap of leather through it all. Apparently, he went through all this trouble to be a good sport, a gentleman. My ass. Good morning. Well, it's almost afternoon, actually. My head whips towards the deep voice coming from behind, and there he is, hands in pockets, ankles crossed, and leaning against a low-hanging branch. Now that I'm not a breath away from death, his appearance and lack of shirt is suddenly extremely distracting. I avert my gaze quickly, though I don't miss the smirk sliding to his lips when he catches me staring. Annoying, arrogant ass. I'm surprised you're still here. Along with my band, I say, casually dusting the dirt from my clothes. He huffs out a soft laugh behind me. Eager to be rid of me, darling? I clear my throat and turn to face him, leaning back on my palms as I eye him curiously. His hair is messy, strands of it clinging to his forehead with sweat, right above where his eyes shine like bits of silver. There's a shadow of stubble clinging to his sharp jaw, and I can just make out the faint divot of his right dimple, equally distracting and devastating. I can't stand it. So, what's the plan? I ask, gesturing between the two of us. The plan for. He tilts his head slightly to the side, peering at me, playing with me. He knows exactly what I mean. For us. Us. I like the sound of that, don't you? I roll my eyes, ignoring him. What do we do now? That is a very loaded question, Gray. I blink. He didn't say my first name, and for some maddening reason, I wish he had. I'm annoyed with both myself and him, so naturally, I take it out on the latter. Why didn't you take my band? And why not try to take it now that I'm healed? Amusement tilts up the corner of his mouth as he pushes off the tree branch and strides towards me. That's another loaded question. That right dimple deepens. First of all, you're not completely healed. Second, why would I pass up the opportunity to work together? You know we make a great team. And third, he crouches down in front of me, so we are eye to eye as he continues. It's cute that you said I could try to take your band from you. Now both dimples are taunting me. Well, if you're so confident, go ahead and try. My face is close to his, my voice full of challenge. I'm sure you remember how our last fight ended. You're still injured, remember? And you don't look much better, I say, frowning at his wrapped shoulder. though no blood dots the white fabric. Concerned for your new partner? A wicked grin spreads across his face as his eyes flick between mine. He's close. Too close. He smells of pine and rain and sweat and plagues. I need to distract myself. I tear my gaze away from his and pull on my bow and quiver as I stand to my feet. Struggle to my feet is more like it. Kai stands with me, bracing one hand on my shoulder and the other on my uninjured side. I move to take a step away, annoyed that he thinks I need his help. But my legs feel like jelly, like stone, all at once, proving that I do need his help when I stumble into his solid frame. His chest shakes with rough laughter, which only annoys me further. Yeah, I don't think I would have much trouble trying to get this band from you. He traces a finger across the leather strap, brushing my skin as he does so. I catch his wrist and look up at him. Well, if we are going to be partners, you won't need to hurt yourself by trying to take my band at all. He looks me up and down, brows slightly raised. So you agree then? Partners? I contemplate it, considering how I would much rather be fighting alongside the future enforcer than against him. I narrow my eyes at him. How do I know I can trust you? He scoffs. Did me saving your life mean nothing to you? And I've saved yours. That doesn't mean you trust me. And how do you know I don't? We stare at each other. Plagues. What am I getting myself into? Maybe it's because I'm too weak to fight him. Or worse, maybe it's the part of me that doesn't want him to leave that makes me say, fine. Partners. I glance from his injured shoulder to the tall stump behind him before placing my palms on his chest, his skin hot beneath mine. I push him back until his legs collide with the stump before pushing his shoulders down until he's sitting before me. Mischief dances in those smoky eyes of his as he looks up at me. What are you doing, Gray? Fixing up my partner, I say simply, beginning to unwrap his makeshift bandage. I smile before adding, you won't be of any use to me if you're injured. Your concern for my well-being is truly heartwarming, he says dryly. I ignore him and pull at the stubborn cloth that's sticking to the skin beneath. I swear under my breath when I finally glimpse the patch of burned, blistered skin beneath his collarbone. It's inflamed and sticky, and I didn't need to observe the tight set of his jaw to know that it's extremely painful. I look at him, finding his eyes already trained on me so intensely that I swallow before asking, where is the healing salve? His expression is blank. Gone. I try to blink away my confusion to no avail. You used all of it on me? Without hesitation. Cool, calm, collected. That's Kai. Well, that was. I sputter, trying to find the right word. Selfless? Stupid, I finish instead. I heave a sigh before muttering, you're always making things more difficult for me, aren't you? I spin on my heel and walk to the edge of the creek. I can feel Kai's eyes on me as I kneel, looking for specific plants to make my own makeshift salve with. It won't miraculously heal him like the healer's salve would have, but it will help significantly with pain and inflammation. Thankfully, most of the plants I need tend to grow near water, so I'm able to find them easily. I grab some more cooked rabbit to nibble on as I search for my ingredients. After a good while of walking up and down the creek while being feasted on by mosquitoes, I finally grind the leaves and stalks I found with a rock. Adding water to the crushed plants, I'm left with a green, thick paste. I turn to find Kai still watching me when I walk back to him, nearly half an hour later. I stand over him, ignoring the feel of his eyes on me as I hold the rock with the salve atop it and take in his wound once again. You are full of all sorts of surprises. He nods at the green goop now on my fingers. Talented little thing, aren't you? I dab the salve onto his wound, and he hisses when it stings. Daughter of a healer, remember? It's getting hard to keep track of your many skills. Another grunt of pain before he adds, annoyed, "Plagues, Paedyn. What the hell is this stuff?" A snort escapes me. Who knew the future enforcer was such a baby? I lather more salve onto his skin, and he grits his teeth. And who knew the girl from the slums was capable of torture? Oh, please, don't be so dramatic. You know, I'm not entirely convinced that you're not trying to kill me. I quirk an eyebrow at him. So you don't trust me after all? I don't trust that, he says, throwing a skeptical glance at the green paste I'm rubbing onto his wound. I laugh loudly, shaking my head at him. He suddenly goes still at my touch, his eyes dancing between mine with a small smile pulling at his lips. I clear my throat. So, I'm grasping for anything to say before finally deciding to let him do the talking. You heard about my home, so tell me about yours. What was it like growing up in the palace? He watches me, his expression blank. Living in a castle is not as appealing as it may seem. It can be cold, crowded, not to mention that you're constantly watched by prying eyes. His lips twitch into the hint of a smile. But Kit and I, we made it a home. Plagues, we ruled the place. We made. He hisses through his teeth, cutting off his words. Shit, Paedyn, now I'm convinced you're trying to kill me. Oh, come on. I laugh, adding more salve to his wound. It only stings. He pokes me in the stomach, carefully avoiding the gash there. You got to slap me when your wound stung, so I think I'm allowed to complain a little. I give him a look. This is a little complaining? He narrows his eyes at me, but I can see the amusement in them. I'm sorry, I sigh. Continue with your story and your little bit of complaining. As I was saying, he continues with a huff, Kit and I made the palace a home. We made friends with the servants, raced through the halls, ditched balls to sneak into the cellar, and get drunk so we could forget about everything and simply laugh until the sun came up. We've probably fought in nearly every room in the palace. Twice. He grits his teeth when I pack more salve onto the wound and shoots me an annoyed look before continuing. We needed it, though. The constant sparring or stupid pranks we'd pull on poor Gale and the rest of the unsuspecting servants. Because when we weren't laughing and distracting ourselves, we were both training and studying. Though that looked very different for the both of us. He looks past me to the blue sky painted above, his gray eyes scanning the clouds as he says flatly, I don't remember my life before I became the future enforcer. I don't remember a day when all the tests and trials and training began. It feels as though it's always been that way. He lets out a humorless laugh, sighing as he says, Fate is a funny, fickle thing, offering you no choice in how you live. I've stopped rubbing in the salve and am instead staring intently at him. And your training? What was that like? He sighs a heavy sort of sigh, one that makes me wonder exactly what he's endured in his short lifetime. Kit and I's upbringing looked very different, where the future king's training consisted of tutoring and education on how to lead his kingdom one day. Mine was more hands-on. As the future enforcer, I didn't just strategize battles. I fought in them. I didn't just learn the art of torture, I endured it. My hands hover above his chest. You endured it? He studies me for a moment, seeming to decide what he wants to say before settling with a simple, yes. Often. Who? I swallow. Who did that to you? It doesn't matter, he says with a slight smile, spitting my own words back at me from last night. So I do the same to him. If it doesn't matter, then tell me. His smile widens. Good to hear that you listen to me when I speak, Gray. That wasn't an answer, I say softly. He blows out a breath, his smile vanishing. The king took it upon himself to train me regularly. I had other tutors and generals, of course, but when I wasn't with them, I was with my father. Let's just say that his methods were severe. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know what it was that the king did to his son, what horrors he put him through. It makes me sick. And yet, I shouldn't be surprised. He killed my father after all, and it's my hatred for the king that has me needing to know what other twisted crimes he's committed. So, I slowly ask, what did he do? He's quiet for a long moment. Gray, I don't think. Please, I cut in quietly. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but I'm asking you to if you are willing. There is something about the quietness of the forest, the cover of the trees, that makes you feel safe enough to spill secrets. Something about knowing you might not see tomorrow that has you doing things you'll only regret if you survive. The trials aren't meant to build trust, and yet here we are, divulging the deepest parts of ourselves to one another, offering our opponents ways to cut us deeper than any weapon ever could. He meets my gaze then, holding it as he says, "I'll spare you the details, but he showed me what it was to torture, what it was to be tortured. He taught me everything I know, trained me both mentally and physically until he was satisfied with what he created." He takes a breath. Kit's relationship with our father is far different from mine. They spend time poring over paperwork and bonding over their positions, while father instructs my brother on how to follow in his footsteps. And Kit will do just that. He will do anything to make the king proud, and he always has. Me, on the other hand. Kai laughs, but it holds no humor. I'm not the heir. I'm the expendable son. The future enforcer that my father has molded and sent on missions for years. He sighs, almost smiling. My brother and I have very different roles, very different relationships with our father. But because of it, Kit will make a great king, and I will be his killer. I pause, watching him closely as he says those last few words. And I will be his killer. Nothing. No emotion, no expression crosses his face. I peer at him for a moment, wondering if perhaps the masks he has crafted for himself are a result of having to suppress his emotions from his own father. And perhaps that's exactly what the king wanted, for his future enforcer to be seemingly unfeeling. You asked me once if I wished it was me who would be king, Kai says, and I stand by what I said. I don't want Kit's role in life because I refuse to give him mine. My brother is no killer, and it's better me than him. I let his words sink in before clearing my throat to ask, and these trials that are different this year? Is this all just another mission for you to complete? Not just complete. Win, he says simply. The trials are just another way for me to prove myself to my people, prove myself valuable to the king. I watch him, wanting to know what he's thinking. He's never told me so much about his life, about what he went through as a child, what he still goes through today. He is the reason this year's Purging Trials look so different, and the rest of us are simply pawns in a game that isn't even meant for us. I lather more salve onto his wound and wait until he finishes muttering about how he's certain I'm plotting to kill him before asking the question that's been nagging at me. Your role in life as the future enforcer. What do you think of it? I think that it is my duty. I frown, and I think that you have more thoughts on your own life than that. I'm asking you, Kai. Not the prince and not the future enforcer. Just you. I pause, and he studies me as I repeat, what do you think of it? Your role? Your life? He's quiet for a moment before the flicker of a smile crosses his face. If I answer as Kai, will you quit with the goop? He shoots a pointed look at the paste in my hand. I crack a smile. Yes, I'll quit with the goop. His faint smile fades, leaving a set jaw in its place. The truth then? The truth always. I breathe. When he finally answers, his tone is dry. I never wanted this. Never wanted to be what I am today. But monsters are made, not born. And I had no choice in the matter. I have no choice in the matter. But I won't deny what I am, and I'll do what I must for my kingdom. For my king. His words hit me hard, their meanings hitting harder. He knows exactly what he is, what he does. He's a pawn to be played in a game he is forever trapped in, and each horrible act he commits is in the name of duty, the name of Ilya. But this boy before me looked into my eyes and admitted he was a monster, acknowledged what he has been created into without so much as a hint of horror. Instead, acceptance is written across his features, acknowledging what he is and always will be. Distracted by my thoughts, I reached to rub more salve onto his wound, only for him to catch my wrist. We had a deal, Gray. I may be accustomed to torture, but this salve of yours is unbearable. He offers me a small smirk, clearly wanting to lighten the mood now. Wanting to do what we do best, play with one another. So I do just that. You're right. A deal is a deal. I quickly wipe my hands in the grass before adding, "Thank you for telling me about you." At that, he huffs out a laugh that I quickly cut off. "And remind me to take a page out of your book and ditch the next ball to go get drunk with Kit." I could have sworn he stiffened slightly at my words. "And why would you do that when I'm so much more fun?" I laugh lightly. "If by fun do you mean flirty? Because you certainly are more of that." He flashes me a wicked, wide grin, and my heart trips over itself stupidly. I can't seem to help it when I'm with certain company. I scoff. "Yes, if certain company extends to the entire kingdom because you seem to be flirty with every female in Ilya." I think back to the many women he danced with at the ball, the way I watched him slip on that charming smile of his. His eyes search mine. "What? Wanting me all to yourself?" My palm connects with his face, stunning him into silence. He blinks. Confusion and the smallest hint of amusement flicker over the face I just slapped. When he finally turns his head back to me, I raise my hand in front of him to reveal the squashed bug in the center of it. I smile at him innocently. "Mosquito, you're welcome." "How kind of you," he says dryly. My smile is full of mock sweetness as I wrap the fabric back around his wound and shoulder, covering the salve with the battered bandage. Just looking out for my new partner. "Is that so?" I hum distractedly, biting the inside of my cheek as I examine my handiwork. "Well, in that case..." Kai stands to his feet, steps close, and hits me lightly across the face. I let out a humorless laugh, touching my fingers to my cheek. Then my gaze locks with his amused one. He shrugs casually. "Mosquito." "Prove it," I challenge. The corner of his mouth twists upwards as he raises his hand to cup my face. My proof happens to still be splattered on your cheek. I hold my breath as he swipes his thumb gently over my skin before holding it up to display the smudged bug. Just looking out for my partner. His tone is mocking, and yet laughter begins bubbling out of me. I can't seem to stop, can't seem to control my cackling. The thought of us hitting each other like children in the middle of a deadly trial is extremely comical. And for once, I hope there is a sight watching this unfold. The glimpse of confusion and concern on Kai's face only make me laugh more, and I clamp a hand over my now throbbing wound as I shake with laughter. Maybe I am still delusional after all. I snort loudly, and that's all it took to get Kai laughing with me. Well, at me. The sound is rich and deep, and irritatingly enough, I find myself quieting so I can hear it better. And then, all too quickly, the sound stops. He's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. I don't know what to say or think or do as his eyes trail over my face, taking in my dirty and disheveled appearance. He, on the other hand, looks just as annoyingly attractive as always. I shake the thought from my head, running a hand through my tangled hair as I struggle to form words. Meanwhile, Kai is content to watch me squirm as I try to come up with something to break the heavy silence that has fallen between us. My eyes drop to his bandaged wound, and words tumble out of my mouth. "So, I'm assuming Braxton did this to you?" Kai chuckles as he runs a hand through his own hair, only causing the messy black waves to tumble over his brow again. "You should see what I did to him." He says the words so casually that I would think he was kidding if I didn't know what he was capable of. "Yeah, well." I look away, about to say something that will likely piss the prince off when he holds up a hand, quieting me. "Don't move," I scoff. "What? Is there another mosquito on my—" His hand clamps over my mouth before he whirls me around by the waist, pinning me against his solid frame. I'm stunned for a heartbeat before I contemplate biting the fingers covering my lips. But something about the way his breathing quickens makes me pause, my plotting to escape his hold. And with his chest pressed against my back, I can feel his heart hammering quickly. Too quickly. I spot movement in my peripheral, my eyes snapping to the large, looming shape, now stalking towards us through the wall of trees. Silver fur gleams in the sunlight, shifting with every move of the powerful body beneath. Glowing yellow eyes lock with mine as the beast halts, eyeing us from afar. "Wolf." "No. Wolves." My eyes scan the trees, finding 4 more massive bodies covered in fur, all ranging in color. The 5 of them watch us, half covered by the surrounding pine trees, as they size up their next meal with hungry eyes. My heart is thumping against my ribcage, my breathing shallow and quick. It's a good thing Kai's hand is still covering my mouth, because I nearly yelp at the sudden feel of his lips brushing against the shell of my ear. "You never seem to listen, do you?" I reach up slowly, keeping my eyes trained on the wolves as I grab his wrist and pull his hand away from my mouth. Technically, I did listen. I talked, not moved, I whisper back, my voice sharp. I can feel his mouth smiling against my ear. Smartass. "So, what's the plan? What are we doing?" My voice is urgent as I eye the wolves. "There is no we," he says softly, releasing his hold to step slowly around until he's standing in front of me. "You are still injured," he murmurs, "and I'm not risking you tearing my stitches open." "Absolutely not." I step to his side, irritated. "What happened to us being partners?" "Well, we won't be partners for much longer if you insist on getting yourself killed," he mutters, silently drawing the sword from its sheath at his side. "And you're just going to take on 5 wolves by yourself?" "I don't think so," I whisper harshly. There is no way in hell I'm letting him fight on his own. My pride and paranoia won't allow that. "Then you clearly underestimate me, Gray." Slowly, so slowly, I pull the bow from my back, watching the wolves as I do. They don't make a move, though they've sunk closer to the ground, ready to pounce and bound toward us. I knock an arrow. "Your wound is going to open back up, and I'll have saved your life for nothing," Kai hisses, his voice urgent and agitated. I draw back the bowstring, pulling it taut as my stitches do the same, threatening to tear. Pain sears through my abdomen and along my ribs, but I bite my tongue, ignoring it. I smile slightly as I say, "Sorry to ruin your handiwork, partner." "Paedyn, don't you dare!" I fire. The arrow finds its mark in the chest of the closest wolf, burying deep into that shiny silver fur. The other wolves are charging towards us before their friend even hits the ground. I already have another arrow ready, nocked and aimed at a brown blur bounding closer. A shooting pain skitters along my abdomen as I fire the arrow, hitting the wolf in its hind leg. 2 of the beasts have separated from the others to circle around us, and I feel Kai's back press against mine as he faces them. I ignore the limping wolf I shot and turn my attention towards the one that is now bounding towards me. I try to slow my panicked breathing before loosing an arrow at the creature. I curse when it misses, sailing past the beast's ear and sinking into the ground behind it. Kai's back is no longer pressed against my own, leaving me clueless as to what is going on behind me. All I hear are snarls and the swipe of a sword against skin and bone. But I don't have time to turn towards the scene at my back, because I now have a snarling beast of my own before me. Its red-tinted fur shimmers almost as brightly as its bared white teeth. It comes to a halt, no more than 2 yards away from me, and crouches, creeping closer. It's massive and menacing and looking at me like I'm its next meal. I can feel my wound bleeding, and the pain is brutal. If I pull back my bowstring one more time, I'll likely rip my stitches if they haven't done so already. But I have no other weapon, no power, no strength to fight. The wolf slinks forward, growling as it plays with its food. What do? I pull back my bowstring. The wolf pounces. It's a large, strong leap that sends it flying towards me, with its jaw open and razor-sharp teeth displayed, ready to rip me to shreds. Impulsively, instinctively, I rip the arrow from my bow and grip the shaft in my fist, before thrusting the metal tip upwards to meet the wolf in the air. The arrow sinks deep into its heart, spraying me with hot blood before it falls to the ground with a thud. I'm panting, still trying to process what just happened when I hear a grunt coming from behind me. I spin just in time to see Kai drag the blade of his sword down a wolf's side, splitting it open with one easy motion. He turns swiftly to the other beast crawling towards him, already suffering from a brutal stab wound, though it still advances with a growl. When the wolf launches towards him in one final attempt to sink its teeth into his flesh, Kai sweeps his blade upwards in a high arc. The sword slices the creature across the chest with ease, and when it hits the ground, Kai grips the hilt with both hands and drives the tip of the blade down into the wolf's side. He stands there for a moment, looking every bit the killer he was raised to be. Then he yanks the sword out, wiping the bloody blade on the fur of the dead animal beneath him. He begins turning around as he says, "You still alive back there?" I inhale sharply when he turns, displaying the deep bite on his shoulder. Blood oozes from the imprint of jagged teeth, trailing down his arm and over his fingers in rivulets. His eyes find mine before widening when they find something over my shoulder. "Duck," he orders, and I don't hesitate before dropping into a crouch. In a flash, he pulls a throwing star from his pocket and sends it sailing through the air where my head was only a moment before. I hear something heavy hit the ground with a thud and turn to see the wolf I had shot in the leg, only a few feet behind me, creeping in for the kill. Only now it's lying dead on the ground with a throwing star protruding from its eye. I stand slowly to my feet as I breathe. You're right. We do make a great team. He looks away from me, shaking his head with a dry laugh. Yeah, except for the fact that you don't listen to orders. Orders? I scoff. I'm not one of your soldiers, Kai. You're right, you aren't. He strides towards me, and the sight of him so bloody is suddenly intimidating. But I force myself to stand my ground when he halts before me, close enough now for me to see his smoky eyes turn to ice. My soldiers don't mean anything to me. They are expendable and easy to replace. His chest heaves, his eyes locked with mine. So, yes, Gray, you aren't one of my soldiers. I open my mouth, but no words come out of it. He closes his eyes and sighs deeply, only opening them again when he is back to his cool and collected self. All traces of the frantic, ruffled male are gone. I can sense him shifting back into his cocky, casual self as he attempts to lighten the mood. Spinning slowly, he takes in the carnage around us and simply says, "Well, looks like we won't be going hungry tonight." I play along, but my voice is weak. good to know that we didn't survive a wolf attack only to die of hunger. His eyes darken as they snap to where my wound lies bleeding beneath my clothes. Your stitches. Did they? I lift my tank and peek under the folds of the bloody bandage. Relief floods me when I see the thread still pulling my skin together. The excursion of the fight only stretched the stitches, causing the wound to bleed, but thankfully not tear. I suppose I would be in a much worse state if they had. No, I breathe. They didn't tear. He runs a hand through his hair before sheathing his sword, but I don't miss the slight wince the action causes due to his torn shoulder. I point to the stump behind him and say, "Sit." Now I'm the one giving orders. He humors me, smirking as he sits down before I come to stand over him yet again. "You're covered in blood," he remarks far too casually. "And you're dripping blood. But, lucky for you," I smile sweetly, "I can make just the right salve for this." He blows out a breath, shaking his head at the sky. "Of course you can. You and your salves will be the death of me." "You know," I mutter, examining the bite closely, "I'm beginning to think that you enjoy getting hurt. If only so you can have my hands all over you." He lets out a low laugh. I can practically feel his gaze gliding over me as he says, "I'm not making you do anything, darling. You can leave me to bleed out if you must, because I only want your hands all over me if you want them to be." My eyes snap to his gray ones already pinned on me. I am playing a very dangerous game, walking on a sharp blade and hoping I don't get cut, playing with fire and hoping I don't get burned, swimming in a dangerous current and hoping I don't drown. He is dangerous. And even with that one thought echoing in my mind, I hold his gaze and put my hands on him. It's been 3 days since a wolf took a bite out of me. 3 days since Paedyn put her hands on me after I told her to only do so if she wanted to. And I don't think I've been able to catch my breath since. Every time she looks at me, I feel like I'm gasping for air. I hate it. Liar. It's been 3 long and boring days. The most profitable thing we've managed to do is find a shirt for me to wear, another gift left for the contestants. The creek and small circle clearing around it has become our base, though we don't spend much time there during the day. Our riveting routine consists of splitting up into the forest and scouting for any other opponents. And yet, our efforts to collect more bands have not only been futile, but also unbearably boring. I'd rather not split up, simply because I'm far more entertained when Paedyn is with me, but she insisted that we'd cover more ground separately. A lot of good it's done us so far. The sun is sinking rapidly, and stars splatter the sky as it begins to disappear for the night. I trudge back towards the camp, taking out my frustration on the plants, littering my path by slicing them with my sword as I walk. Nothing. Neither of us has come across another opponent yet. The only things we've managed to find are snakes, and lots of them. Those, along with coyotes, have been the only visitors we've had to fight off as of late. I hear the bubbling creek before I even see it. The small clearing comes into view, and so does Paedyn. She sits on a stump, twisting that thick, silver ring on her thumb as she stares blankly at the fire, her hair blowing in the soft breeze. I grab some kindling and make my way over, throwing it on the fire before sitting down on a stump across from her. Well, I don't see any fresh wounds, so no luck, I'm assuming. I'm offended that you think I couldn't come out of a fight unscathed. After giving her a skeptical look, she finally grumbles, "No. No luck today." I watch her closely, assessing how she bites the inside of her cheek, spins the steel on her thumb, bounces her leg. She's a mess of pent-up energy, anxiety eating away at her. But I let her think, giving her time before I pry for answers on what it is that has her so tense. So we sit in silence, me gnawing on stringy rabbit, while Paedyn gnaws on the inside of her cheek. The sun has dipped to the horizon, painting the sky with deep oranges and soft pinks, when I finally break the silence with a sigh. "All right, what's wrong? Out with it." She looks up from the fire, meeting my gaze before deciding that the flames are more interesting to look at. "Nothing. I'm fine." I almost laugh. I've learned the hard way that those are words you never want to hear a woman say to you. And it's obvious that she is anything but fine. I stoke the fire as I sigh. "You're a horrible liar, Gray." She finally dares to look in my direction. And then she's laughing loudly. I hold my breath, watching the way her head tips towards the sky, her silver hair cascading down her back, her eyes crinkling with amusement. She looks back at me too quickly, and I hope I've wiped the look of wanting from my face fast enough. She's so stunning, yet so stubbornly oblivious to how the sunset behind dulls in comparison to the vibrance that is her. What the hell is wrong with me? I'll have you know that I'm a great liar. She can barely say the words without snorting like she's told a joke, and I've missed the punchline. I pop a piece of meat into my mouth. I'm going to have to disagree. "Oh, really? Really?" She leans forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "Enlighten me, Prince." "Good. Let me distract you." My lips twitch into a smile. "You have a tell, darling." "Do not." She's not laughing anymore, and I almost regret saying anything at all. "You tap your left foot when you lie, ever so slightly." She gapes, and I grin. "I started noticing it when you said you hated my dimples. And obviously, we both know that is a lie." I duck before the rock she throws at me can connect with my skull. Now I'm the one laughing. She turns her attention back towards the fire, fighting her smile. "I didn't realize you had watched me so closely." "Watched?" "Darling, I've never stopped." She meets my gaze as an emotion I can't place ripples in those ocean eyes of hers. And there she goes again, spinning that silver ring on her thumb. "Interesting. Why are you really doing this?" Her words cut through my thoughts, and I look at her, though her own gaze is now fixed on the flames in front of us. "Why didn't you just take my leather and leave me?" I hear her unspoken words echoing in my head. "Leave me to die." She looks at me then, her eyes flooded with emotions. She wants an answer, needs an answer as to why I didn't act like the monster I've been molded into. I open my mouth, expecting a good answer to fall out. Wishful thinking, I suppose, because I sigh and say, "You know, we never got to finish our dance." She blinks at me. That wasn't an answer. "That's because we haven't danced yet. You should know how this works by now, Gray. We dance. You get your answer. Or we don't, and, well, you'll be left to ponder all your burning questions about me." She huffs out a laugh. "You're kidding. Not this again." "Yes, this again." I stand to my feet and walk over to where she sits on her stump. "So," I hold out my hand to her with a lazy bow. "Are we dancing or not, Gray?" She rolls her eyes, trying to fight the smile that's tugging at her lips. "Fine." She lays her palm on my own, and the mere contact has my pulse quickening. What has this girl done to me? We take a few steps away from the fire, the pale moonlight beaming and the stars twinkling. I guide her hand onto my shoulder and take the other to hold, careful not to strain her stitches. My other hand finds her waist, wrapping my arm around her back to pull her close. She feels so familiar in my arms, and I drink in every detail, memorize every movement. We begin stepping in time to nothing but the sound of our own heartbeats and the crickets chirping around us. We're swallowed in darkness, mere shadows in the flickering firelight. "There's no music," she says flatly, her voice laced with amusement. "Well then, I guess we won't know when to stop dancing." How unfortunate. My chin brushes the top of her head before I dip her towards the ground, making her gasp in surprise. Don't tempt me to stomp on your toes, she threatens breathlessly. I raise her back up slowly as I say, "Oh, we can't have that." I'm still recovering from the last time we danced. We're quiet for a moment, listening to the crunch of twigs beneath our feet and the crackling of the fire. Through her thin and battered tank, I can feel the heat of her body, feel her skin beneath my hand. Distracting. Her voice is quiet when she breaks the silence, as if almost reluctant to interrupt the moment. So, the answer to my question? Right. That. Is it really so shocking that I don't want you to die? I lean back slightly so I can meet her eyes. So shocking that I would help someone? She doesn't hesitate. Yes. I almost laugh. I can't say I'm surprised. It's just that... She pauses, her eyes flitting between mine as if searching for the answer in them. I thought you were more like your father. Her words slam into me. Father is... well, he is a king. He's cold and strict and very rarely impressed, even with his own sons. I suppose in some ways he's made me to be like him, schooled me on how to act, what to feel, and more importantly, what not to feel. Thanks to him, I've crafted a jumble of different masks that I can slip on and off at will. I'm a mess of muffled emotions and well-built walls. But because I don't quite know the answer to her question myself, I ask her one of my own. Is that why you hate me so much? Because you thought I was like my father, who you clearly don't care for? I don't hate you. She answers too quickly, pausing to wonder if she's said the right thing while I wonder why she hasn't said it sooner. My smile is crooked. Oh, you don't hate me? So what? Every thread on my life is a declaration of love then? I said I don't hate you, Prince. That doesn't mean I don't despise you. I duck my head, eyes searching hers. I think you despise that you don't despise me. Her mouth falls open before she snaps it shut and fixes me with a glare. I seem to have rendered her speechless. Well, that's a first. Use your words, Gray. I smile, spinning her before pulling her back to me. Tell me, am I wrong? I thought I was the one asking you the questions, she says, distracting and diverting my attention with that devastating smile and deliberate words. And she thinks I'm the calculating one. She looks away from me, biting the inside of her cheek before meeting my gaze again. Would you have helped one of the others? A pause. Someone other than Jax or Andy? Someone other than the few people I truly care about. A slow smile spreads across my face. Darling, I doubt that the sight of someone dying would affect me as much as you do alive and well. She swallows. You're a shameless flirt, Azur. Only for you. Now it seems you're also a shameless liar. I huff out a quiet laugh before saying, my turn to ask a question. She opens her mouth, most likely to argue, but I cut her off. So, out of all the people roaming around Loot that day, why was I fortunate enough to be robbed blind? Her mouth snaps shut before splitting into a smile. You fit a description. A description? Her smile is anything but sweet. Yes. You looked cocky and chocked full of coins. Those are my favorite targets. I lean closer towards her. Well, this target knew you stole from him. You knew I stole from you too late. Funny. I seem to remember that I caught you not shortly after. Her smile is smug. Only because I came back and saved you. Then she laughs. So what? You don't think I could steal from you again without you noticing? I think that I notice everything you do. So, no. She pauses, her face close to mine, momentarily stunned by my words. I smile, enjoying the sight of her flustered. Her next words are soft, slow. Is that a challenge, Azur? It's a fact, Gray. Is it? She says, suddenly dangling something between our faces. That's interesting. because I nicked this off you almost immediately after we started dancing. I squint in the dim light, swearing under my breath when I realize what it is that she's holding. Braxton's leather strap, once safe in my pocket, is now pinched between her fingers and swinging in front of my face. I'm impressed, Gray. I shrug casually before adding, I'm mostly shocked I didn't notice with how closely I pay attention to you. She rolls her eyes at me. Distraction. My gaze sweeps over her quickly before returning to that smile. You are quite good at that, aren't you? She's quiet as she watches me closely before looking away. I avert my gaze too, preparing myself for another one of her prying questions. What's your favorite color? My eyes snap to hers. What? I nearly choke on my laughter. Your favorite color. What is it? For once, I almost step on her toes out of shock and sheer wonder. Of all the things you could ask me, you ask what my favorite color is? I can't keep the smile from spreading across my face. She blows a strand of hair from her eyes in annoyance. I feel like I don't know many things about you, so I figured I'd start with the basics. An amused sigh. I'm letting you off the hook with an easy question, so don't disappoint. What is your favorite color? I spin her, if only to give myself some time to think. I'd never thought about what my favorite color was before. It never seemed important. Not until I looked into a pair of ocean blue eyes and realized that perhaps drowning was a beautiful thing. Not until I looked into a pair of fiery blue eyes and realized that perhaps burning was a painless thing. Not until I looked into a pair of sky blue eyes and realized that perhaps falling was a peaceful thing. I'd never thought about what my favorite color was before, because I hadn't seen one that was worthy of the title. Until now, that is. Blue, I say, my voice low. She's looking at me thoughtfully, studying me sincerely. I would have never guessed. Neither would I. And yours? I ask, watching her as she thinks. She opens her mouth and then shuts it, considering something. Her jaw sets. I don't have one. With a small shrug, she asks, favorite food or dessert? We're in the middle of a trial and you're asking me about my favorite food? She ignores me. Well, I know it's not rabbit. I see the way your mouth twists when you eat it. I do not twist. I pause, grinning. Have you been looking at my mouth, Gray? She opens her own mouth to argue, only to huff instead. Just answer the damn question, Azar. I chuckle and spin her slowly. Easy. Lemon tarts. She snorts. You're kidding. Lemon tarts? You're a rich prince who could have any food he wants? And you would choose lemon tarts? Yes, lemon tarts, I mimic. And now I'm making you eat some with me when we finally get out of here. Over my dead body. My smile is wicked. That can be arranged. And there she goes, making good on her threat to stomp on my toes, seeing that her feet are her only weapon at the moment. Oops. Vicious little thing, I murmur under my breath. You don't know the half of it, Prince. Oh, but I hope one day I will. We are silent for a moment, studying each other before I finally say, Tell me, what's your favorite food then? Since you seem to think it's so much better than lemon tarts. Oh, trust me when I say that it is far better than lemon tarts. Well, don't keep me guessing, Gray. She tilts her head up towards mine as she confidently says, Butterscotch. Butterscotch? I repeat, committing the information to memory. Yes. She smiles, but I see the sadness in it. My father used to give out the candy to his patients. And every time he would fix up one of my wounds, or I would help fix up someone else's, we would eat butterscotch after as a sort of reward. We are quiet for a moment. You two were very close. We were, she states. But you and your father aren't, are you? Not after what he's put you through. I'm thankful for the lack of pity in her voice, though her disgust is clear. A quiet, bitter laugh escapes me. No, I'm more soldier than son, and he's more king than father. It's hard to be close when our only time spent together was training, and I didn't exactly look forward to those encounters. And your mother? She asks quietly. She's everything I could have asked for, I state simply. Everything I needed as a boy. She's been one of the only constants in my life, a source of kindness and caring. And yet, Paedyn says hesitantly, she let your father do what he did? I pause, speaking to her even as I remind myself. She didn't exactly have a choice in the matter, and becoming the future enforcer is my duty, no matter the methods it takes to get there. She eyes me with that expression I can never quite seem to place. Is it wonder? Confusion? One moment she's an open book, and then the next, I can barely crack the spine. And then she's peppering me with questions. Most of them random, though all are deemed equally important to her. She tells me stories of growing up, and I do the same, listening to her laugh at Kit and I's stupidity. So, tell me about the split lip you had when we met? I ask, brows raised. She laughs, and the sound snakes up my spine. I wasn't lying when I told you that it was a gift from one of your Imperials. Right. You informed me of that when you had your dagger to my throat, I believe. Sounds about right. Well, I'm still unaware of the details behind how you earned it. My eyes darken at the thought. I don't react kindly to my Imperials hitting women. Oh, then you should probably know that this wasn't the first time. Her words are casual, blunt. Long story short, he didn't believe I was a psychic, so I proved it to him. And clearly, he didn't like what I had to say. I stare at her in disbelief. And, what, you just took the hit? Yes, but not before I took some of his pride. Why am I not surprised by that? She gives me a sly smile. Probably because you've gotten so used to me humbling you, Prince. That I have. I pause, taking her in. You never cease to amaze me, Gray. I smirk as I release her hand to flick the tip of her nose lightly. She bats my fingers away with a huff. And you never cease to annoy me. I grab her hand again and guide it up my arm until both of her palms rest on my shoulders. Then I slip my hands around her waist and behind her back, careful of her injured side as I pull her closer. And then we just sway. No fancy footwork, no waltz to step in time to. Just us in the middle of a forest, surrounded by thousands of winking stars. Her lashes flutter, and then her fingers are laced behind my neck. The tension between us pulls taut, like an invisible tether connecting the two of us. My pulse quickens, and so does her breathing, her chest rising and falling rapidly. I never cease to annoy you, huh? I watch her face while pulling her impossibly closer. What about now? Is this the exception? She swallows and dips her head, not offering me an answer. I smile slightly as I try to get her to speak. A problem I've never had to deal with before. Still no answer. My fingers catch her chin, gently guiding her gaze to meet mine. There's confusion etched all over her face as she lets out a shaky laugh. I'm annoyed that I'm not finding this annoying. My hand tightens around her waist, like it might catch fire from the feel of her. I'm embarrassed by how much this one girl engrosses me, afraid of how affected I am. It makes me feel equally weak and wonderful, alarmed yet alive. Why didn't you shoot me, Paedyn? The question tumbles out of my mouth, curious and quiet. She tilts her head, studying me. You're going to have to be more specific than that, Azur. Deflecting. I crack a smile, knowing that she is aware of what I'm referring to. You could have shot me a few days ago, but you fired at the ground. I want to know why. She pauses, pondering her answer. Then her eyes are pinned on mine. Just because I was doomed for death doesn't mean I wanted to damn you as well. Her eyes roam over me, and I relish the feel of her gaze. And then she pulls away. Her hands are back on my shoulders, stiff and stubbornly unmoving. Then her eyes are on the sky, choosing to stare at the stars rather than me. She sighs through her nose, silently collecting herself. And I'm doing the same, trying to pull myself together after she pulled away. Yes, we are opponents. Yes, I am the future enforcer. Yes, I'm a killer that has no right to want to keep her. But there is something else, something that has her refusing to admit this confusing connection we share. Plagues, I'm pissed that I admitted it to myself. My masks are still at the ready, my walls still in place. But she is slowly breaking down both my facades and fortresses. And I'm suddenly angry at myself for allowing it, for allowing myself to care, for allowing myself to think of her in any way other than my competition, because she's made it clear that that is all I am to her. Kai, she says quietly, the sound of my name on her lips ripping me from my thoughts. A soft female voice cuts through her words. Sorry to interrupt, but you both have something I need. The voice echoes from all around us. Kai and I jump apart, instinctively swiveling around to press our backs against each other. I squint in the dim light where the outlines of tall, dark figures begin to take shape. A reluctant sigh rings out into the darkness, amplified by the numerous bodies surrounding us. We're trapped. They all take a measured step forward, enclosing us in a human cage of bodies. Dozens of hazel eyes shimmer in the firelight, dark hair and skin gleaming. Sadi, all I want is your bands, and I'll be on my way. And then she almost smiles as she looks around at her copies. Well, we'll be on our way. Kai sighs, seemingly annoyed by all of this. You knew we wouldn't give you our bands, and yet you interrupted us anyways. Fine, Sadi says curtly. Then give me one band and no one has to get hurt. My eyes dart to my bow lying a few feet away from me, a few feet away and behind the wall of Sadi's. I don't have a single weapon to use to defend myself, and I've never felt so exposed. It's like I've been stripped bare. I can almost feel the ghost of my father's dagger against my thigh, making me wish more than anything that I had it here with me. Several sets of hazel eyes flick between the two of us, still back to back, before locking with mine. I don't want to hurt you, but I will if it comes to that. She pauses, and her voice is even, unfeeling as she says, I will if it means I'll win. I'm about to open my mouth and respond when calluses brush my own, gripping my hand behind my back. I nearly jerk at the contact, but Kai pries my fist open, pressing something cool and hard into my palm before curling my fingers around it. Then, just as quickly, his hand is gone. The thing bites into my skin, pointed edges piercing. I fight to keep the smile from my face when I realize what he's given me. A weapon. He's given me a fighting chance. It's a small one, but a weapon nonetheless. I clutch the throwing star in my fist, not caring if the sharp edges pierce my skin. This tiny object could be the difference between life and death. The only weapon Kai has is the sword belted at his side. But then again, he is a weapon himself. I'm shocked he didn't feel Sadi's power creeping up on us. But I suppose I can't blame him, considering how distracted I was with his hands on me, his words with underlying meanings, my hammering heartbeat when he gets too close. I take a deep breath. Let's deal with one problem at a time. Then I guess you're going to have to hurt me if you have any hope of getting my band. I breathe, eyeing the Sadis as they take a slow step forward. She shakes her head at me, as though disappointed in my decision. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. And then she's suddenly in front of me, holding the tip of a short dagger to my throat. Before the next thud of my heart, she's yanked my arm and pulled my back against her chest. The blade she still holds against my throat sinks deeper into my flesh with every shallow breath. I'll only ask once more. Sadi's voice is sharp, so unlike the soft tone I'm used to from her. Give me your leather, Kai, or I'll slit her throat. The prince blinks at the scene before him, looking completely unfazed. He knows I can take care of myself, and though I'm flattered by that fact, I could use his help at the current moment. Hot blood begins to trickle down my neck, and I will myself to remain calm. Kai simply shrugs at the threat. Go ahead then. He nods towards the blade pressed to my throat. See if I care. We are only opponents after all. Less competition. I can practically hear Sadi blink behind me. She's clearly stunned by his lack of concern, especially after seeing the two of us dancing together only minutes ago. I would be stunned myself if I wasn't so used to seeing his masks, if I didn't recognize the cold one he's just slipped on. She stiffens behind me. I'm calling your bluff, Prince. I feel her hand begin to jerk, begin to slice deeper into my skin. And then I strike. I slam the razor-sharp throwing star into the soft tissue of her stomach, pushing it deep as I push her hand still clutching the knife away from my neck. She screams and jerks away, sending me stumbling into Kai. Well, one of them. There are now several muscled forms, all mirroring his messy black waves and stormy eyes. He's taken on her ability. I ram into his chest before strong hands grip the sides of my arms. When I look up into his face, he has the nerve to wink before saying, "Good work, Gray. I can always count on you and your violent tendencies." With that, he spins around and drives his sword through one of Sadi's duplicates. A throng of Sadis surround Kai and his own copies, keeping him occupied and unable to get to the real one and end this fight quickly. I'm reminded of a day spent training at the castle, when I watched Sadi sparring with Braxton. They would fight and dance around each other until Braxton made his way to the real Sadi, finally taking her down and ending the fight. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. Except, unlike Ace's illusions, which I've already had the pleasure of facing, Sadi and her copies can touch and hurt me. With this unsettling thought in mind, I dance on the balls of my feet, prepared to strike. I turn away from the copies swarming Kai, knowing that he can handle himself while he trusts I can do the same. There are only 3 Sadis left, and 2 of which guard the real one, currently clutching a bloodied hand to the wound on her stomach. Their heads snap towards me, and I barely have enough time to sink into my fighting stance before one of them charges at me. Unfortunately for me, Sadi knows how to fight. Since her power is simply duplicating her own body, she automatically has strength in numbers. But she's trained so that those numbers have strength of their own. A right hook flies at my face and I duck under it, landing a quick blow to her stomach. The Sadi stumbles back with a grunt, and I use the opportunity to send a kick connecting with her side. She catches my leg and pulls me forward. Exactly what I was hoping for. I grip her shoulders and jump, driving my other knee deep into her stomach. She drops my leg with a cry of pain, and I slide my ring onto my middle finger before throwing a fist at her temple. I mutter a curse as I shake out my stinging hand, but she's out cold before she even hits the ground. A hand pulls at my hair, hard, and my head yanks back. I let out a strangled gasp as an elbow hooks around my throat, crushing my windpipe. I can't breathe, dizzy with pain as spots swim before my vision. But I stomp on her foot before elbowing her hard in the stomach. She loosens her hold and I whirl around, grabbing the back of her neck and slamming her nose into the knee I drive upwards. She sputters and flings her fist out, managing to connect it with my jaw. I ignore the aching pain and drop, sweeping my leg out before she's swept off her feet. She slams into the ground with a thud, but I've already turned my attention away from her sprawled form. My eyes find the smoldering hazel ones belonging to the real Sadi. She steps toward me, blood oozing from between her fingers as she covers her wound. "Just know that I don't want to do this," she says, her voice strained. but I have to. And then her fists are flying at me in a combination of hooks, jabs, and uppercuts. I'm impressed by how much speed and strength she still has after being stabbed, forcing me on defense. I dodge her blows until I land one of my own, square in her jaw. She grunts in pain before sending a roundhouse kick at my temple. I barely block it, her heel still clipping the side of my head. We dance around each other, throwing various combinations of punches and kicks. Her fist crashes into my lip, and my head snaps to the side before I spit blood. I send a hard kick into her already wounded side, and she screams in pain. Then I land a blow under her jaw, another to her wound, a kick to her temple. She cries out, trying to hit me with a lazy punch, but I catch her wrist easily, twisting it at an odd angle before kneeing her in the stomach. I grab her shirt in one hand while the other is balled into a fist, currently cocked back and ready to strike. I send it flying towards her face, ready to end this fight with one final blow. Except my fist doesn't move. Cold hands clamp around both of my wrists, pulling at my arms until they are tucked tightly behind my back. I'm so shocked, so strained and tired that I can't fight the strong grip. Can't do anything to break my hands free. My head whips around and I'm face to face with a bloody-nosed Sadi, the one I fought immediately before. Look at me, Paedyn. My head snaps back to the original Sadi, now clutching a knife in her bloody hands before me. I kick at the legs of the Sadi behind me, only causing her to kick in the back of my knees, sending me crashing into the ground. Helpless, powerless, Sadi stands over me, seeming to contemplate something as I kneel before her. You're never going to stop fighting me, are you? In response, I writhe in the Sadi's grip, desperately trying to break free. She shakes her head at me, offering an apologetic look. Maybe Kai was right. The less competition, the better. She grabs the handle of the dagger in both hands, raising it above her head. So this is how I die. I've survived my whole life as an ordinary, and yet this is how it ends. By a measly dagger. I can't tell if I want to laugh or cry. Sadi holds the knife above her head, ready to plunge it into my rapidly beating heart, as she whispers, I told you I didn't want to do this, but I have to. Kai will be furious that he saved my life for nothing. I'm sorry. Sadi chokes out as the tip of the blade comes racing towards my heart. And impossibly, unbelievably, I'm suddenly ready for it. I'll see you soon, Father. Nothing. The blade stops mere inches away from my heart. I'm shaking, my eyes trailing from the halted knife to my almost killer. Blood pours out of Sadi's mouth, followed by a gurgled gasp slipping between her lips. She looks down, wide-eyed, and I follow her gaze to the sword now protruding from her chest. The dagger slips from her fingers as tears slip down her cheeks. She stumbles back, gasping, into a broad chest. Kai wraps his arms around her and gently guides her to the ground, a sickening gargling sound slipping past her lips. And then she's suddenly silent, her hazel eyes staring up at the black sky, wide, unseeing, and glossy. The Sadis around us flicker out of existence, leaving my hands free to cover my mouth as I choke on a gasp. I'm trying to take in what just happened, trying to take in air as I wheeze weakly. Kai drops to his knees beside me, worry crinkling his brow. Are you hurt? His eyes roam over me like the fingers now lightly roaming up my body, checking for injuries just as they had a few nights before. Paedyn, look at me. Rough hands are cupping my face now, guiding my gaze towards him. Tell me, did she hurt you? I'm fine. I'm not fine. I hate these trials because they kill people, and now I've just witnessed it firsthand. I've been a part of it. I didn't ask for any of this, didn't want anyone to die. And now, another victim of the trials lays motionless mere feet away. I told you I don't want to do this, but I have to. Sadi didn't want to kill me, and yet I almost wish she had. Almost wish I had a reason to hate her, a reason to wish this fate upon her. But it's these twisted trials that forced her shaking hand to raise that dagger above her head, forced her into nearly taking a life. I glance at her bloody body lying limp and so close. An image of my father flashes before my eyes, replacing the girl who tried to kill me with the father who would have killed for me. I witnessed him die similarly, and I try to blink the image away. But his bloody body doesn't budge. Hey, look at me, all right? Don't look at her. Look right at me. Kai's hands are still gently holding my face when I slide my gaze back to his, trying to focus on something other than the death in front of me. Except the prince himself seems to be death incarnate, a wielded weapon. Focus on my eyes. I know how much you like to stare into them. His gray gaze sparkles with amusement, and the corner of his lips kick up while my own mouth falls open. He knows me well enough to know that I'm about to start telling him off in response to that little comment. So he presses a finger to my lips before I get the chance. Focus on the dimples you try to convince yourself you hate, even though I know you look for them every time I smile. Sure enough, his grin spreads, and my traitorous eyes flick to the dimples framing it. The thumb he runs over my bottom lip has my eyes dragging from his dimples to meet his gaze. Focus on my lips. His voice is a murmur, a caress like the fingers brushing my face and mouth. Don't be shy. I know this wouldn't be the first time. My eyes drift to his lips, trailing over the sensuous curve of them. He's so very easy to look at, to admire. Everything about him is annoyingly alluring, distracting so easily. Distracting. When my eyes light up with the realization of what he is doing, his slight smirk tells me I'm correct. This calculating boy just distracted me from a dead body using nothing but himself to do so. Are you sure that was to distract me and not to boost your ego? I ask, my voice deceptively calm. Why can't it be both? Ass, I mumble. He hasn't stopped smiling at me. I may be an ass, but I just saved yours. And then, without warning, his smile vanishes and is replaced by serious scrutiny as he looks me over. How are you? Have you calmed down? I breathe and shut my eyes for a moment. An image of Sadi's bloody body flashes in my mind before shifting into my father's. I'm fine now, I lie, hating how strained my voice sounds. He shakes his head at me, muttering, I told you. You're a horrible liar, Gray. A shaky laugh escapes me. The sound is so wrong with a lifeless body so close, but I can't seem to control myself. At this point, my only options are laughing or crying, and I refuse to do the latter. Kai studies my face, seeming to see the battle raging within me. Without a word, he wraps an arm around my middle and helps me to my feet. I know I should push him away, should tell him I don't need his help. But I'm weak in far more ways than one, and his closeness is my only comfort right now. He guides me to a stump and sits me down, crouching to look up into my face. Pay. He speaks the syllable so softly. Stay here and calm down. Just breathe, all right? You're still in shock. I nod numbly as he assesses me again. His gaze never strays from my own as he slowly raises a hand to slide his fingers over mine, seeming to search for something. They halt on the cold steel around my finger before spinning the ring idly, mirroring a movement I'm all too familiar with. Distract yourself. Spin this like you always do to keep busy, to keep your mind off things. I blink at him, shocked that he knows my habits, knows how to help me. I'm stunned at how calm and collected he is after killing someone, though I shouldn't be. He was raised for this, molded into a murderer who's numb to the death he doles out. I suppress a shudder at the thought of the horrors this haunted boy has committed. the horrors he's endured. Kai stands to leave. I'm going to go. Clean this up. I'll be back soon. And for once, he sighs. Listen to me and stay put. And then he's gone, leaving me to spin my ring restlessly. Unsurprisingly, I didn't listen to him. As soon as my ass got numb from sitting on that bloody stump, I stood and paced circles around our camp before splashing cold water from the creek on my face and body. Then my ass got cold, and I moved next to the fire to lie down on the hard ground I'm so familiar with. I refused to watch as Kai lifted Sadi's body over his shoulder and stalked off with her. Where he dumped her, I have no idea. And I don't want to know, I realized. But I let my thoughts wander while he wanders around the woods with a dead body slung over his shoulder. I watched the dying fire from where I lay on my side, the crook of my arm tucked under my head, making for an uncomfortable pillow. My breathing is now under control, the shaking from leftover adrenaline and shock now faded. I might have been lying here for hours if I cared to try and keep track of time. A shadow suddenly sweeps over me, belonging to the someone now crouching behind. I grip the handle of Sadi's knife and flip around in one swift movement, bringing the tip of the blade to the throat of whoever decided it was a smart idea to creep up on me. My eyes crash into stormy ones, looking amused rather than afraid. Easy, Kai murmurs, gently wrapping a rough hand around my wrist and pulling the dagger away from him. It's just me. The corner of his mouth twists up as he says, although I doubt that knowledge would stop you from keeping this blade to my throat. I manage a slight smile at the thought, running a hand through my tangled hair as I look up at him, crouching beside me. Since we're partners now, you don't have to worry about me stabbing you for the time being. He lets out a deep chuckle, and I hope the dim light hides most of my smile at the sound. And when we aren't partners anymore, should I fear for my life? That would be wise, yes. I just barely hear him mutter, vicious little thing. We are quiet for a moment, and my smile begins to slowly fade. I'm tired and surprisingly comfy on the packed earth, so I don't bother moving as I say, "Did you?" "Yes," he cuts me off, sparing me from having to speak about Sadi's body. My gaze snags on his hands and the thin layer of dirt covering them. It's under his nails, splattered up his arms. A dusting of yellow on his fingertips catches my eye, a fine powder staining his skin. Dirt. Pollen. My voice is little more than a whisper. You buried her. Kai stills beside me. Not only that, my eyes slowly slide up to meet his. You laid flowers on her grave. His smile is almost sad, filled with fatigue. Nothing gets past you, little psychic. He reaches out a hand then, flicking the very tip of my nose like he'd done when we danced. Somehow, the simple action feels far more intimate than I care to admit, as though he is sharing something precious with me, saying something without uttering a single word. I catch his hand before he pulls away, trying to ignore the feel of his calluses against my own. Thank you, Kai. That was good of you to do that for her. His lips twitch, and his eyes drop to our joined hands before trailing back to mine. Oh, I didn't do it for her. The intensity in his gaze makes me swallow, but I don't look away. I don't want to look away. He runs his thumb over my knuckles, the action so soothing, so gentle. He cocks his head to the side, inspecting me. How are you feeling? I open my mouth, but Kai beats me to my rehearsed response. And don't bother saying that you're fine, because we both know that's a lie. Another stroke of his thumb across my knuckles. My eyes flutter closed, and I take a deep breath. I'm feeling like I almost died today. I'm feeling overwhelmed and in over my head. I'm feeling furious and frustrated because I don't know how to feel about all of this. I pause while Kai waits patiently for me to continue. And I'm feeling like I owe you a thank you. I would have died today if it weren't for you saving me." He leans closer, eyes brimming with barely bottled-up emotions. "And I'll save your life again and again, aimlessly hoping you will allow me to stay in it." We stare at each other. Those pretty words of his have my heart pounding, brain puzzling over possible meanings. The tension between us is tangible, taking my breath away as he takes me in. I'm grasping for something, anything to say, but I'm too busy staring to think straight. And then a quiet question slips past my lips, snapping the tension between us. "How are you so calm after all this?" I know the answer, and yet I find myself wanting to hear it from his own lips. "I didn't always used to be like this," he says softly. "But practice makes perfect, and I've had a lot of it." We stare silently at one another, and once again, I'm struggling for something to say. Then I remember the leather strap I had stolen from him and slip my hand out of his to pull it from my pocket. "Well, I suppose this is the only way I can repay you. Though it's yours to begin with." He gives me a lazy shrug. "Keep it." I huff. "I don't want your pity." "It's not pity, Paedyn." He sighs out the words, "my name." "Besides, I have another one of my own now, and taking down Sadi was a joint effort." I level him with a look, prepared to argue since we both know he didn't necessarily need my help with Sadi. He doesn't miss the fight in my eyes. "Just take the damn leather, Gray. If he wants to offer me the one thing I need to help me win these trials, then fine. I'll take the damn leather. But not before I've had some fun." A smile twists my lips. "Say, please." He looks away from me, shaking his head at the starry sky. "You have just been waiting to make me say this, haven't you?" "Dying to, actually." His forearms rest on his bent knees as he leans even closer, face hovering close above mine. The smile he gives me is equally as lazy as his gaze traveling over my face. "Please, Paedyn." A shiver runs down my spine at the caress that is his voice. "That seems to be a foreign word to you, Prince." "Thanks to you, I have a feeling I'm going to grow very familiar with it. Few have the power to make me plead." I swallow, choosing to ignore his words as I shove the leather into my pocket and roll to face the fire once more, suddenly cold and content to be quiet. The temperature has dropped significantly tonight, and my thin tank does little to keep me warm. I do have one condition, though. I roll my eyes. Of course he does. "And what would that be?" I ask through my teeth, not bothering to look at him. An arm wraps around my middle, carefully avoiding my wound while tugging me against a broad chest. I startle at the sudden contact, and a soft laugh sounds close to my ear. "I get to use you to keep me warm." There's a certain hesitancy to him, the type of timidness he only lets me see in moments like these. He holds me loosely, delicately, like whatever shared fragile feelings between us could shatter if handled with a lack of care. A question laces every lingering touch, every look too long, every layer of ourselves we choose to divulge to one another. The arm around me is no different, speaking volumes in the form of hovering fingers and hesitant hold. "Is this okay?" I swallow hard. My throat has gone dry. My answer is agonizingly slow as I slide closer to him. It's more than okay. Eagerness is an emotion I've always been able to blame on circumstance, and I wish desperately it wasn't desire driving my decisions. I hear him take a breath, only realizing then that he had been holding it. And then all remnants of hesitation is gone. His hand settles on the far side of my waist, where my tank is slowly beginning to slide up. He's wasted no time pulling me against him, allowing me to feel the rise and fall of his chest, feel the steady beat of his heart pounding against my back. "Tell me, does this annoy you?" he asks quietly, breathing the question close to my ear. He's throwing my words back at me, and I can almost feel him smirking. He wants this to annoy me, wants this to get under my skin and make me flustered with every finger he has on my body. Bastard. I simply can't allow that. So, I say with a confidence I don't currently feel, not at all. I can't be bothered, Azur. Good, he says coolly. Then he lays his head on my arm and shoulder, his soft, inky hair tickling my skin. Who needs a pillow when I have you? I huff with what I hope sounds like annoyance. Thanks to him, I'm now suddenly wide awake and unable to focus on anything else but the heat of his body against mine. He finally drops his head from my shoulder and lays it close to the back of mine, practically buried in my hair. Sweet dreams, Paedyn. Sweet dreams, Kai. His hand tightens ever so slightly on my waist in response to the sound of his name rolling off my tongue. And then his thumb is brushing lazy, light strokes over the fabric of my thin tank. I suppress a shiver, swallow, and shut my eyes. Just go to sleep. Easier said than done. I'm far too focused on his sweeping thumb, his arm wrapped tightly around me, his chest rising and falling against my back. I hate that I don't hate it. And that's when it hits me. Distraction. He's doing it again. He's taking my mind off the death I just witnessed, off the fact that I watched him kill someone because they were going to kill me. He's the only thing keeping my thoughts from Sadi's dead body. The only thing that will chase the nightmares away for tonight, because I'm too occupied with the thought of him. And this is a distraction that benefits the both of us. I find myself smiling as I think about the calculating boy behind me. The calculating boy, who, for some reason, cares.